Sound art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it sound art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it is that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
Conveniently located between Milwaukee and Green Bay in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, Road America, the 4+ mile, 14-turn high-speed road course that has seen it all. NASCAR, IMSA, IndyCar, and more, amounting to over 500 events in total. Road America's park-like grounds offer amazing viewing opportunities, numerous camping options, fantastic concessions, and high-speed excitement to hundreds of thousands of spectators every year. Next up for fans to virtually view from those spectacular vantage points is going to be tonight's Operation eMotorsport's iRacing League's second race of the season. Hello, race fans, to Pit Stop TV, and as usual, we are live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and a few other platforms as well. I'm Eric Brennan. Our buddy Andrew Cardinelli's got the night off while he enjoys some vacation time over in Colorado. But I am joined tonight by JP Costa, who's with me in the booth. And we also want to give a shout out to Trey Shuttlesworth, who's handling all of our social media coverage, and also Emerson Arden, who is in the production trailer tonight, bringing you tonight's broadcast. With that, Pit Stop TV's live coverage of Operation eMotorsport's iRacing League continues here for the second race of 8 in this series. And tonight, as we mentioned, we join you from the beautiful and scenic Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, for this second race at Road America. Now, as I mentioned, I'm not flying solo here tonight. Very fortunate to have a veteran on the broadcast for this series, and JP Costa joining me tonight. Now, JP, I had a chance to go back and watch last week's race at VIR, and it was very impressive to see all these drivers from different disciplines, and we'll talk about that in a moment, put on such a show. Here, one of the most beautiful, scenic, but also pretty challenging road courses in the country. What do you expect we are going to see tonight here, JP?
I expect more of the same from last week. Great racing. Last week was fantastic. 1 hour of non-stop battles, and this is more of the same. We don't have a lot of runoff area. It's grass or gravel, and we do have a lot of straights and few precision corners, such as the kink. Drivers are going to be pushing hard to try and overtake. So this should be a fun hour.
And we figured, being that this is such a well-known event and for such an incredible cause, we wanted to bring in somebody from the track itself. As we mentioned last week, we opened the evening by speaking to Operation Motorsport's founder and CEO, Diesel Loader. Well, tonight our guest interview is John Ewert, who is the communications director at Road America. John, welcome to the Pit Stop TV booth. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you this evening?
Doing good, guys. Thanks for having me.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time to come out and join us. And, we mentioned that you're the communications director at Road America. Tell us, what exactly are your roles and responsibilities? We know the track handles so much on an annual basis. And with that, how does that tie you into our friends at Operation Motorsport?
Well, what's really interesting at Road America is that we have a very nimble but very effective staff. We wear a lot of hats. So it's kind of fun, actually, if there's something that somebody is interested in. We all kind of, take that on, and at the same point in time, cover off all the bases of what we're required to do, but also everybody helps each other out. So, my role is primarily television, radio, newspaper, media, social media. Also manage a lot of our broadcast team in our own PA booth, all of our content that goes out on our 7 jumbo screens throughout the property, as well as opening ceremonies for events. I support all of our marketing and promotions groups. As well as operations and our executive management team and our board of directors. So, like I said, we all wear a lot of hats. There's lots of other people in the mix, but we're a very small team from a full-time point, about 22 personnel, upwards of about 500 part-time and volunteer during the season. So it really becomes quite a melding of resources when we do motorcycle events on top of motorcycle schools, driving schools, on top of karting events, geocaching, disc golf, you name it. Road America has it. We like to say come for the experience and stay for the race because we are also America's national park of speed. If you weren't running cars on track, you'd feel like you're at a national park, and that's one of our namesakes of the facility. So everybody does a lot. It's kind of humbling to sort of talk about yourself and what you do, but at the same time, if we didn't have such an incredible, effective team, we wouldn't be able to be putting on 500+ events a season, including almost every major form of motorsports in North America and globally that's available. There's only a few that we're missing out on, but definitely there's lots of eyeballs on us, especially this season, because we've been able to host live events for fans safely and effectively. since everything has been closed down for the COVID-19 pandemic. And that's a big plus for us and how we were able to adapt and pivot and do everything safely for our fans because we're an outdoor facility. We're 640 acres. You can spread out and enjoy the facility. We also hand out masks and sanitizer at the gates. So it's really great. And we're just very, very happy that everybody has been so cognizant of the current world situation and willing to come and watch and enjoy motorsports live, where a lot of sports haven't really had that opportunity until recently, and fans can also be there in attendance.
And you lead me to my next question. One of the reasons that Operation Motorsport elected to take this route and get involved in sim racing, particularly on the iRacing platform, was because of the COVID situation. They really do typically have boots on the ground in many forms of motorsports disciplines to kind of drive home the motto of their organization: to excite, engage, and empower. And with that, they too had to kind of adapt to this circumstance where they have a lot of members who are part of that group who needed to find a way to navigate through a time that is really, hindering a lot of what is the norm for sports entertainment and also motorsports. And, you kind of alluded to the fact that Road America is one of the few, not only in the country, but in the world, who's been able to safely and efficiently open back up to spectator sporting events. How was that process? And for you, I would assume that there had to be a lot of work with local, officials or any type of political empowerment that's available at your disposal on that end of the country. How much legwork did you and your team have to do in order to get to the point at which you are at now, where you were able to hold events already with spectators in attendance?
Well, that's a great question. And first and foremost, we appreciate everything that Operation Motorsport does for all of the people that are involved in your organization. We thought it was a great cause, so we immediately jumped on board to be a part of this. Additionally, in regards to your question, we started planning for this the moment that COVID-19 and sports and live entertainment had concerns. And we all saw that sort of unfolding in February and March, and we immediately started talking to all of our local and state health officials as well as federal officials, and working with developing some protocols, working with developing some plans. We essentially completely tossed out our marketing and promotions plan for 2020 and completely switched gears into how do we do this safely and effectively. How do we spread the message that Road America is the safest place to watch a race? And also, at the same point in time, how do we engage our fans who are now following safer at home mandates and then invite them back to the facility when it was safe to do so? A big way that we did that was we aligned with iRacing for IMSA and also for other events such as yours now. We also aligned with showing a lot of vintage historical footage and races from the past as part of our sort of throwback series, so that way people could have something to watch on their social channels as well. And we kept constantly engaged with our fans, advising them where we were at. We aligned partnerships with local sponsors such as SeaTech in Weston, Wisconsin to develop sneeze guards, and we aligned with a lot of other companies to get supplies of PPE, not only for our staff, but also for our fans. We also made sure that we had appropriate signage throughout the facility. And then we worked on an education and messaging process to remind everybody that we are an outdoor facility. We are 640 acres. If you think about an average golf course is 100 acres, we can fit about 7 golf courses in our property. You're not dedicated to the seat. If you're watching some of the stream right now, you're not dedicated to a seat at Road America. Once you get through the gates, you can roam about the facility and you can watch in turn 1, turn 3, turn 5. You'll see some of these cars going through. It looks like the carousel right now, or actually turn 7, I believe. But yeah, you can watch from all over the facility. All of our concession stands and high contact areas were being sanitized regularly. We aligned a partnership with Guy and O'Neill for antibacterial wipes. They're down in Fredonia, Wisconsin. And then we did further alignment with a lot of companies, only to give back to these local economies, but also to provide materials and equipment to allow us to operate safely. that was all part of the education process. So when people had their own concerns about where to go and what to do and how to enjoy live sports, we had all the answers. And it helped as well for us to invite the media out to the facility and actually see the facility for themselves, to see all of our active measures against coronavirus, to see all of our active protocols that our staff and our sanitation team were utilizing. And it made people feel safe. So not only have we earned a lot of respect from the community, the racing community and the sports community, but a lot of respect from new fans who just have really learned about motorsports firsthand by coming to a race. And they've said, this is great, and we want to come back. So we can't be happier about how everything turned out. Additionally, we've been doing exhaustive efforts to give back to the local community as far as raising funds for Meals on Wheels of Sheboygan County. Through our paddock shop, we also had a large fireworks show called Firefest, where we were able to raise nearly $75,000 for 2 local fire departments, volunteer fire departments, as well as the Sheboygan County Food Bank. We also were able to raise money for Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Sheboygan, as well as Meals on Wheels and the Food Bank for Sheboygan. So it's been incredible, not only to open up for sports again, live sports, motorsports, but also to give back to so many different organizations as part of the process.
We're talking to John Ewert, the communications director at Road America, which we are seeing from the virtual perspective, qualifying underway for tonight's Operation eMotorsports event, their second race of 8 on the season. And John, building those partnerships and those relationships with all those local companies and having policies in place, is it back to business as usual for you guys? I mean, you know, looking at things from a distance, being that you guys were able to put on a doubleheader for IndyCar on short notice, one of very few standalone NASCAR events that took place for the Top 3 Touring Series that was able to remain on the schedule. Are you guys going to see out the rest of 2020, you know, just kind of as planned, or is there still a little bit of work to be done to see how the rest of the calendar year unfolds? And how much longer do you guys have to go before you could kind of turn the page and focus on hopefully getting back some level of normalcy for 2021?
It's our full intention. That's a really, really good question. It's our full intention to finish out the remainder of 2020. And we have World Challenge coming up, obviously, this weekend. We're super excited about that. It's one of their first events where fans will be allowed in an unlimited capacity. A lot of our fans have been very cognizant, existing fans as well as new fans, when the garage areas are closed, because obviously SRO and GT World Challenge America wants to keep their drivers in that bubble and keep them safe, and our fans have been understanding of that. It's a small price to pay to give up one season of maybe not getting an autograph or not seeing a driver up close and personal, but still being able to watch them on the track live and be able to view an actual live race. So we think that's a small trade-off, and it's really worked well for us from motorcycles all the way through IndyCar, IMSA, NASCAR, and now World Challenge. We anticipate that'll probably be the case for a couple other events. We have our VSCDA Vintage Weekend, which will be coming up, as well as the SCCA runoffs. With all of these protocols and these best practices that we've put in place, a lot of series are following suit. So it's easy for us to adapt. It's easy for our fans to understand that. And it's taken a lot of education. It's taken a lot of information. It's taken a lot of messaging. We have a web page dedicated to that. You just go to roadamerica.com/safety. You can read all about it. You can go to also any event web page on our website, roadamerica.com, and read about the active measures that are in place. Primarily, it's been very regular that we don't like to say that the paddock is closed, because the paddock is open, the paddock shop, Victory Lane, various concessions areas, but we do say that the garages will be limited to essential team personnel, and that's understandable. Usually we have an open paddock and fans are able to walk about the facility and mingle and see things and get autographs from drivers. It's just a little bit different this year, and that's really the only trade-off that there is. So it's helped us. It's helped us continue since we were able to allow fans back June 1st. And we have full intentions of utilizing that same model throughout the season. A lot of people like to say new normal. Yeah, there is some newness to us. There is some change. There are some mask mandates when it comes to enclosed areas here in Wisconsin, but at the same point in time, Road America is incredibly safe. It's incredibly fun for a family. You can bring your own cooler, you can bring your own lawn chairs, your own blankets, and spread out and tailgate. And that's a rarity when you think about sports in North America as a whole. So this is something that people can come and see and do. They can also camp throughout the weekend, and they don't have to leave until noon on Monday. So that's another plus as well. If you're looking for a family activity, is come out, grab a campsite, enjoy some live sports with family and friends, and get a sense of what normal should be while we're all sort of working through this new normal.
Well, John, I think I could speak on behalf of everybody in the industry that for a long time, Road America has been an industry leader in the fan approach and experience at a racetrack, and also providing a state-of-the-art racing facility. And now you and your team and everybody at the racing venue has kind of taken the lead on how we should approach this situation that comes with us with so many unknowns. We cannot thank you enough for your time and also the support of that of Operation Motorsport. Being that we're about 5 minutes away, make that 4.5 minutes away from race time, we're going to, I think, sit back, relax, enjoy the show that we're about to have with us with this 1 hour timed event that's coming up. But we cannot thank you enough for your time and all that you're doing, not only for the racing community, but also for everybody out there near Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. John Ewart, thank you again for joining us, and we hope to be seeing you at the racetrack soon, my friend.
Guys, again, all you got to do is go to roadamerica.com for tickets. We look forward to seeing everybody there. If you're looking for something to do, there's still some great racing events coming up. And again, we appreciate everything that Operation Motorsport is doing as well.
John Ewart, Communications Director at Elkhart Lakes Road America. Thank you again, my friend. Hopefully we'll be talking to you again soon. And wow, JP, I'll tell you what, hearing all the detail that goes into not only putting on these events, but doing so in a capacity in which the facility is able to honor some spectators to be in attendance. And it seems as though they've been able to dial those up moderately as time goes on with cooperation of all the local and regional health officials. It is fascinating to hear that there is so much that goes into these race weekends. And I think that makes this relationship that we've been able to develop, having John with us tonight as we open up the second race of 8 for the Operation eMotorsport series. I think it says a lot about this initiative and that relationship. And it pretty blown away by all that we were able to learn in such a short amount of time with John. And wow, it's it kind of adds a little bit of a badge of honor that we're able to hold one of these events here at Road America, and can't wait to make my way back out there soon. And I wonder if you feel the same.
Yeah, exactly. I had no idea how much planning it goes, never been on a racetrack before, and just listening to this, learning, it just shows how much effort these guys put in, and it's incredible to hear, just how much passion and love they put into their jobs to try and make this work, not only for fans, but for families, just looking for a good weekend. It's just incredible.
And because of that, it makes a little bit more of a realistic effort as we watch some of this qualifying action take place, with Chris Walsh currently being the quick time setter at the moment. This gives us an opportunity with about 2 minutes left to go in the session to kind of get some of our viewers up to snuff as to what Operation Motorsport is all about. It is actually a veteran-led not-for-profit foundation that's based in Raleigh, North Carolina, and also in Brighton, Ontario. It was actually founded on the basis of 3 simple words, and I was able to mention them in that interview with John Ewart: excite, engage, and empower. And its mission is to engage through motorsport activities ill and injured service members, as well as disabled veterans affected by military service. They are leading to aid in their recovery and rehabilitation. We want to invite everybody, if they want to learn more, and we'll do our best to teach you more as our broadcast goes on. But if you want to learn more right now, you can head on over to operationmotorsport.org. And it is just truly a breathtaking initiative where they've been able to combine a number of their beneficiaries, some pro racers, and there's also a bit of an open platform. So we are going to be bringing you coverage of this race, as it is just a single class event, but they are scoring points across 3 different disciplines and platforms throughout the racing events this season. And just an absolutely incredible initiative that was taken up by the Operation Motorsports team. And it's giving a lot of these drivers an opportunity to kind of take to this venue and this platform at a time which, as we were talking to John Ewart about, the options are limited. So this is really providing a good bit of, let's call it an entertainment option or an alternative option to some of the other high-octane experiences they're accustomed to. and hopefully we're able to deliver on that front with tonight's racing action as well. And JP, you were able to be on the call last week at the VIR event as we enter the final 25 seconds of this qualifying session. And I'll tell you what, I was very impressed by how competitive the racing was. And you mentioned some of the characteristics that this track has. Could we expect to see more of the same here tonight as far as the competitive nature of this 1 hour timed race?
Yeah, exactly. Looking at the qualifying times, it looks very close. You know, we have a few selected groups here within a few tenths of a second. You know, we have. This is going to be a great race. You know, last week we saw, unfortunately, only a 2-car battle for the lead, but looks like this week we could see like a top 4 battling for the lead, and obviously, you know, fighting for the podium and fighting for the top 10. This is going to be great. We can see a lot of groups separated by only a few tenths of a second, and due to the nature of this track, this should be very interesting. You know, heavy braking zones and long straights often leads to overtaking opportunities.
And what we're seeing as the session winds down, looks as though the top of the pylon matches what we saw at the checkered flag at VIR, with Chris Walsh currently the quick time setter. And Daniel Morad, who actually joined the session relatively late, not sure if he was partaking in a practice session of his own, but looks as though that the lack of track time in this session that we've all had our eyes on over the last hour or so, not going to take away from the opportunity to get up there on that front row. And as we await for the field to pull off in this qualifying session, we will have the starting lineup in hand, and we will turn that over to you once the field is out on the grid for, as we mentioned, what will be a 1 hour timed race. Our coverage here on Pit Stop TV presented by our friends at RECARO. And whether it's on track or iRacing, RECARO Automotive is all about making driving safer, more comfortable, and more controlled. And it's a driving experience that you can really feel. And as our presenting sponsor for this series, RECARO wants to remind you that RECARO Automotive puts people first every time. Well, this is a unique track, 14 corners, 4 miles in length. And JP, you kind of talked about some of the tough spots, tricky spots. Contrary to what I think we would say about VIR, there are a good amount of passing zones on this facility. And with the MX-5, which there's a unique reason why this series elects to use this vehicle on that front. We'll talk about that more in a minute. But with this MX-5 car on the sim, for me, I have not had much experience on the platform driving this vehicle, but it looks as though that some of these sharp braking zones that this track has to offer and these significant 90-degree corners could lead to us seeing position swap on more than one occasion per lap. Is that something in which you would expect to see as well?
Yeah, exactly. We have a lot of 90-degree corners that lead to another 90-degree corners with medium to long straights. So overtaking opportunities are going to be great if you mess up an exit or an entry to the corner. You know, obviously we have the main overtaking at turn 1, 3, 5, and Canada corner on turn 12. But obviously, if you make a mistake on any single corner of this track, you're going to be, fighting to hold a position.
Momentum also key, being that we do have some very long straightaways, and if you are able to get out of shape, getting up onto one of these long stretches of pavement, whether that be on the exit at turn 3, off the final corner, or even coming through the kink, we saw a lot of drivers have problems in practice. It could really ruin your momentum down the rest of the straightaway that lies ahead and allow your competition a chance to pounce. And we'll see how much or how important these sectors of the race course will be when it comes down to race time. This gives us a chance to tell you a little bit more, give you a little bit more detail about the vision of Operation Motorsport. And as delivered to us, as we were learning more about the organization, we mentioned that it is to engage service members and veterans through this eMotorsport's diversionary therapy. And it's an introduction and conduit to the Operation Motorsport's overall mission and opportunities. And as we mentioned, there is so much more that this organization does beyond just the esports racing platform. In fact, they've got a couple of members who are out and about as we talk to John Ewart about the racing world getting back up and underway and back up to speed. There are some representatives who have been able to take part of the services that are offered by Operation Motorsport that are, getting their hands dirty in a real world racing environment. There is so much more that is up for grabs there. So this 8-race schedule that has been put in place is just an appetizer to all that this organization has to offer. And again, for more information, all you have to do is visit operationmotorsport.org, and we will do our best to tell you more about all that they have to offer up with their services, this race series being one of them. And I'm excited to say that we're about to kick off our second race of 8. The field is getting ready to line up on the grid. And we'll take a look at our starting lineup momentarily for this, our second race of the season. It's going to be a 60-minute timed event that will be taking place here on the 4+ mile layout in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. Now you see Daniel Morad claiming the pole, with Chris Walsh going to line up in second spot. That's reciprocal of how they came to the checkered flag at VIR last week. Dustin Burkhalter is going to line up in third. Outside row 2, you're going to have Theo Broselma. JP, I think we both were able to trip over that one the first time we said it, but that'll be your front 4 as we make our way back into row number 3. 5th spot's going to be that of Christopher Bailey. Outside, Richard Haslett in 6th position. Back to row number 4 and 7. It's going to be Hunter Reeve with Jacob Williams starting outside in the 8th spot. And the rest of the top 10 will take you back to Joe Kientz in 9th and Brian Burkhart through the 10th spot.
In 11th spot, we have Adam Poppenhaus. In 12th spot, we have Jonathan Winker. Starting off in P13, we have Timothy Bernard and Callum Belden starting in P14. I hope I pronounced that name correctly. In P15, we have Jason Leach, and in P16, we have Glenn Gray. Starting off in P17, we have Jay Gleason, and in P18, we have Brian Winker. And finishing off the grid, we have Mark Bray in 19th, and finishing off, actually in 20th, we have Keenan Gallagher.
So we got one more car in tonight's race. We had 19 starters last week. Looks as though we've got 20 scheduled to come down for green, even though we did not see Keenan Gallagher turn a lap in qualifying. We mentioned this race going to be 1 hour in length, and we expect to see the front 2, who are the 2 pro drivers. We mentioned the class assignments that are being awarded as far as championship points. It's going to be scored as an overall, and that's how we will present the race to those of you who are watching along our numerous platforms. But with that in mind, we do know that these are a couple of the pro drivers who elected to take part in this series, with Walsh already getting the nod back at VIR. And Daniel Morad had to settle for second. As we mentioned, they reversed those roles very late in the session. Morad was able to leapfrog Walsh for the quick time. And actually, they were about a half second faster than that of Dustin Burkhalter, who rounded out your podium finishers back at VIR. And he is one of the open competitors on the series, and we'll tell you more about that as we are able to roll on through this series. We mentioned 8 rounds in total. Next up, it will be on September 1st at Road Atlanta. Then we'll then continue on to the Circuit of the Americas on September 15th after a week hiatus, give everybody an opportunity to catch their breath, and that will get us to the halfway point. Again, all of which is available to those of you who will be watching us here on Pit Stop TV. JP, we are on the parade and pace lap, an opportunity for these drivers to get one last look at this massive facility. We talked about some trouble spots, some passing zones. What do you think is going to be one of the items to watch as we get set to go for 60 minutes time?
Obviously, the mistakes, I think are going to be playing a big part. Last week, we saw even the leader and second place, the leaders could make mistakes. They were making mistakes. Unfortunately, we saw Morad making a couple of mistakes. They unfortunately dropped him out of the battle for the lead. And this is the same. We have the kink, which might be, some drivers might get caught out there. And a few corners, we don't have a lot of runoff areas. As we see here, turn 5, we do have a bit of a runoff area and an overtaking opportunity. But after that, it's just gravel and grass. So minimizing the mistakes and making sure you stay behind the car in front, in order to get a bit of a slipstream, and trying to make a move is going to be the important thing in this race.
And we are going to watch it all unfold here on Pit Stop TV. And we also want to take this opportunity to mention that Whiplash Media is the new parent organization of Pit Stop TV, and they actually specialize in various sim racing resources, including everything from some of the beautiful paint schemes that you see on your screen, all the way down to stream overlays, iRacing camera packs, and so much more. With iRacing and the world of sim racing continuing to evolve, Whiplash Media is also working on its presence in real racing, such as photography, social media management, as well as public relations. Whiplash Media can currently be found on Facebook, and again, that is a new parent organization that's helping us to provide you these images here on Pit Stop TV. So you're about a half lap away from the green flag here at Road America. So we've told you some of the storylines to watch at the head of the pack. We've also got numerous drivers who had solid runs at VIR, such as 4th place finisher Adam Poppenhaus. However, Poppenhaus did not have the best of qualifying runs. In fact, just missed the top 10. And that was one of the beneficiaries in the field back at VIR, running under the same class tag here tonight. It'll be fun to watch Poppenhaus. If you can avoid trouble off the start, starting back on the inside of row 6, how he will be able to navigate his way up through the field and perhaps get closer towards a podium finish, a spot in which he just missed out by 1 position 1 week ago. Coming through that high-speed section of the racetrack where we often see so many mistakes made. And JP, I don't know about you, but I'm excited for this one. I've been covering a lot of Skip Barber racing on the sim. First time I get a chance to call an MX5 event, and happy to be doing so here with you. I don't know about you, but I'm kind of getting a little ramped up here. Can't imagine what the drivers are feeling or even what you're feeling over on your end.
I'm really excited for this race. Last week was a majestic race. This is going to be the same. You know, I'm expecting a lot of overtaking. Hopefully not a lot of mistakes as we come to the green flag right now.
So they're going to begin to ascend up the hill on the front straightaway. And the field will be coming down for green, 20 cars strong for the second race of the 2020 summer edition of Operation eMotorsports. And it is coming to you here from the virtual Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin in Road America. And the field accelerates up towards the main straightaway. And we are green, 60 minutes to decide another winner. And they will thunder their way down to turn number 1, jockeying for position early on with Morad holding the lead from pole.
That was a very clean start throughout the grid, as he has to go defensive, so that might be setting up Chris Walsh for the lead again. No, he's probably going to hold out, but that is an incredible clean start from the grid. You know, I was looking at the blimp camera and no one made contact, everybody respecting the boundaries throughout the first lap. But as we can see, the battle for the lead is already heating up as they get a great exit out of turn 3. Is Chris Walsh going to be lining up on the roof at turn 5? He's going to go around the outside. He's going to try to outbrake Morad. We're going to have to wait and see.
Yeah, it looks as though Morad trying to take a bit of a defensive line there as they approach what's going to be the left-hander at turn 5. This is another one of the big trouble zones where if you get too late on the brakes, you could take a couple of competitors with you. And as they come through that left-handed corner, Morad got a little bit loose on corner exit. Not sure if he got help from behind, and that's going to let Walsh take the lead away on the outside as they hit 6.
Yeah, that was just one of the moves. Unfortunately, he got loose, but he's going to be signing up the move again. I'm pretty sure into Canada corner. He has to make sure he has a good exit, and he can keep up with Chris down here. As you can see, we can see a few drivers looking up for moves onto the corner, but no one trying to make a stick right now. You know, as the beginning of the race, the same thing we saw last week. As now we have someone going a bit wide and is going to end up losing 2 positions as we head into the long right-hander.
So that might have been a back for about the 5th spot. We saw Bailey losing a spot to Reeve just out of our frame. We keep our eyes on the leader, though, because we want to make sure that Walsh is not able to run too far away from that of Morad. Still curious if there was a little bit of contact as they thunder their way through the kink for the first time. Whoa, we got one in trouble. The 4th place car hard in the wall and upside down across the pavement. Comes back on all fours, but a massive accident after a huge mistake in the kink. And it looks as though that might have been Bruselma who went around off of that portion of the track. What a hit.
Yeah, unfortunately, that was in the trickiest corner of the racetrack. We talked about it on the pre-race. You know, the kink can get you. He got loose on entry and unfortunately dipped a wheel into the grass, and that was it. Luckily, he has a quick repair. Unfortunately, he's going to be going a lap down into the first lap of the race. It's a long race. If he can keep his head down, he definitely can make up some positions.
So Theo Brosema, who I think gets the award of having the last name which JP and I are able to butcher week after week. Eventually we will get it right, but nevertheless, first driver to have significant misfortune on the opening lap of this race. Another one of the beneficiaries in the field. As JP mentioned, the quick repair is an option, but he's going to have to hope for some more drivers to have trouble as the front 2 has now become a front 3. Burkhalter keeping pace with the 2 pros in the field in Walsh and Morad as they still run 1, 2, 3. They got about 3.5 seconds back to Haslett, who rides 4th. But this is a great battle here amongst the top 3. I think we expected to see Walsh and Morad run close together, but Burkhalter saying not so fast despite the deficit in qualifying of a half second to these front 2. He's latched right on with them as they continue to rage their way around this track. And they will be approaching the kink once more. They're coming up here to turn 5. This is where Morad lost the lead the first time through. Also has a little bit of a bobble there off the corner, JP, as they get set for turn 6.
Yeah, I was looking at the battle for 4th position. Unfortunately, Hunter Reeve actually made a bit of contact with, pretty sure that was Christopher Bailey. No, Christopher went for a dive and managed to get his stick. Unfortunately, Reeve couldn't get it back, and now he's going to have to defend from I'm pretty sure, yeah, that's Joe Kintz. I'm pretty sure I pronounced that wrong. But now Christopher is gonna have to defend again. Is Joe gonna size up at the inside? He is. And he's gonna make his stick. He's gonna be pushing him into the grass. Oh, that is incredibly close. They don't make contact as they head into the carousel. He's gonna have, probably is gonna have to yield. You know, there's no way you can hold it around the outside. And yep, he unfortunately has to yield. Now he has to size up and exit, and let's see if he can get it done into Canada corner.
Boy, impressed by seeing just how physical some of these drivers are willing to be as he gets all four off into the dirt, that time off the corner. As we continue to watch this battle, also just as we were cutting to this bit of action as they come through the kink, got one wide again off the corner. Hopefully he was able to keep it straight as they came through that sector of the racetrack. He was. But it looked as though we did see Morad make a mistake while running in second. He's lost some ground to Walsh at the head of the pack. So you mentioned, JP, mistakes are going to be key, and we're seeing that come to fruition only 2 laps into this race.
Yeah, exactly. This is a 1 hour race, and within 2 laps we saw a lot of mistakes already, into the kink especially, but you know, throughout the corners you're just trying to get a little bit extra braking performance, and unfortunately that can go against you sometimes. And looking down the grid, we already have some people with like significant amount of damage onto the rear part of the car, so maybe some contact was done into the back end as we see Brian Winker trying to make a move into Jay Gleason. And you know, it's battle all throughout the grid. We have a lot of separate packs there. It's going to be really close racing. And as you can see, Timothy Bernard is going to be sizing up a move into on Callum Belden for what is essentially 9th place right now. Callum's going to try to hold it around the outside, and he manages to do it. This is just going to be an incredible hour. I can already see it.
Yeah, even with some of the errors we've seen some of the front runners that pretty much throughout the pack make, we do still have these clusters of battles for position, some up within the top 10, like what we have our eyes on here, with Belden along with Bernard, all slipping and sliding on the exit of turn 3. See Bernard there, center of your screen, Belden just up ahead, and that's Leach trying to overtake as they prepare for the left-hander. Not seeing Bernard take the defensive line as they come down to the end of the straightaway towards turn 5, which has been the spot where we saw the lead change hands on the opening lap. We also saw a little bit of what one longtime road course broadcaster would call argy-bargy. But a little bit loose there off the corner. That was Bernard able to reel it in. Leach does a great job staying out of the door, and he's going to open that door and work his way through to pick up that 10th spot as they come through 6.
Yeah, you know, we can see incredible side-by-side battle. The drivers are being really respectful of each other, even though we're seeing some door banging, but you know, it's racing, Rubing's racing. And you know, a talking point as we had throughout qualifying was Poppenhaus. You know, he started on P11, he was making a move up into P6. Now he's unfortunately P7 as he lost the place again, but you know, you see these drivers making these moves, you know, quite quietly, and whenever we stop looking at them, they're already on the podium. So we expect good racing from him, and hopefully we can see him making a few more moves into the podium position. It could be a race.
On board with Poppenhaus here as they come down one of the long straightaways, the exit of the kink, and we mentioned was able to get up to 4th place. Poppenhaus, another one of the beneficiaries in the field, and we'll try to do our best to try to separate some of the 3 different groups or classes and categories of drivers that are in the field. And I must say, you know, when you come into these races with a pro tag on you, like what Walsh and Morad have, it kind of sets the bar relatively high. There's almost an expectation for those to be some of the drivers to be in the field, and that's why they are running up towards the front of the pack. But Burkhalter was one of the open drivers who elected to jump into this league, has been able to keep pace with them up until just the last couple laps. You see the gap back there to the 3rd place driver, about 4 seconds, but Morad is starting to close back in. You see how far back Burkhalter is as they enter turn number 1. But it looks as though Morad, despite slipping a little bit a few laps ago, able to close back up on Walsh in this battle for the lead, and perhaps this could turn into a repeat of what we saw at VIR, where these two were really hard to break apart. The rest of the pack battling it out for that last spot on the podium, with Bailey running in 4th and Reeve your top 5.
Yeah, we can see Morad and Walsh, you know, doing, as you said, a repeat of last week. And Burkhalter, you know, unfortunately he doesn't seem to have the pace to keep up with these two, but he does have the pace to pull away from Christopher. So if he can keep his nose clean, he can keep avoiding mistakes, he can definitely set himself up for that podium position. And these two, I'm pretty sure, are going to be fighting throughout the race. They're already at 3/10 of a second, and with those massive straight, as you can see, Morad just getting a little bit on the grass and getting a little bit loose, and these drivers are pushing to the limit, to try and get the best out of each other. And this is gonna be a repeat of last week. Hopefully we don't see Morad doing a few mistakes, or Walsh for that matter, and we can see this going up all the way into the white flag.
Now, as far as the other end of the pylon, looks as though that Keenan Gallagher did not make the green flag. We have not seen that driver turn a competitive lap time all the way back through qualifying, even though Keenan did compete back at VIR. Also, Richard Hazlitt, who started up a little bit further in the running order, came to grid in 12th spot, currently running way further down the running order. Check that. Hazlitt actually came to green in 6th spot. Looked as though he may have been involved in an accident. Currently mired down in the running order. Same thing can be said for Winker. And Brosema is the car that was running 4th that had the hard crash as they came through the kink early in the going. As JP mentioned, used a quick repair, and by virtue of some of the other drivers struggling, there is Theo on screen, starting to be able to pick up some spots early in the going. We mentioned Theo, another one of the beneficiaries, racing in that class as well. So the hope may be that some of the other beneficiaries also run into some trouble on what is a very tough course, as we have proven already very early in the going, just a handful of laps in, with about 20 laps to go in this also 60-minute timed event. We're about 15 minutes in, according to the clock that I'm able to observe on the iRacing portal. But Braselma, you see the plummet there after 4th with a great and spectacular qualifying position. That also comes with being the fastest of the beneficiaries in the qualifying session. Currently mired back in 17th spot, while Walsh and Morag continue to be the two to beat on track. They put another lap on the board, and they still got a little more than a half second between the two of them.
Yeah, unfortunately, Theo showed us the nature of the track. Sometimes you push a little bit too much on the edge, and unfortunately, it can happen. It's racing, you're pushing to the limit, and unfortunately, he showed us the nature of the track. As you can see, Poppenhaus now it's starting to lose a little bit of a ground to Joe, and he came under pressure from Jacob, who actually managed to make a move stick onto the start-finish straight. Actually, I'm pretty sure it was after the final corner, and now he's losing a little bit of time to Jacob. So after a promising start, looks like he's falling a little bit behind. And well, the lead is still 4/10 of a second. They're still close, and this is going to be incredible. As we also have a battle for 4th. I just spotted here. Hunter Reeve maybe sizing up. He's just putting pressure on Christopher, just filling up those mirrors, trying to force Christopher into a mistake. And this is another showcase of last week. You see different groups of drivers, they kind of get separated by their own pace, but they often come together, as a group to try to actually show us what great racing is.
Yeah, Hunter Reeve +2 already on this contest after starting in 7th, now up to 5th, looking for more on Bailey, who actually was able to gain 1 spot in this race as well, as he rolled off in the 4th spot. Trying to check my notes, I believe Bailey may be that of the outlier. Don't think we saw that driver at VIR, judging by the championship points that I have in front of me, unless I've absolutely overlooked his name. But Christopher Bailey, who appears to be a newcomer on the series, trying to get around Hunter Reeve. It's actually reciprocated there. It is Bailey who's running at 4th. Reeve is the one trying to make the pass at car 46. And Reeve had a good start. They actually came to the checkered flag in 4th position after starting 6th back at VIR. And Reeve looking to continue that streak of top 5 finishes, currently running up in that 5th spot, but looking for more. And they've got about 4 seconds as they sidewind their way through the corner before they can close up on Burkhalter, who holds down the final spot on the podium. And as JP mentioned, at the moment, with a 4/10 of a second gap, now 3/10 of a second to the leaders from 1st to 2nd. This is the best battle on the racetrack between Bailey and Reeve as they come up the hill back to the start-finish line.
Yeah, we can see these drivers. I'm not pretty sure if Morad is going to be doing something like a fuel strat. As we've been informed, these guys start with 50% fuel load to force a one-stop strategy. So Daniel Morad could be just biding his time, just trying to save as much fuel as he can. They know that they have the pace advantage over the rest of the grid, so Morad can afford to stay behind Walsh as long as he can keep up in trying to save just maybe a liter less, just to get the edge of the pit stops, as this is I'm pretty sure one of the longest pit stops in the series. I'm pretty sure it's going to be the longest in the calendar and absolutely massive. So anytime you can shave off while people are going flat out through the start finish straight is going to be essential.
Yeah, it's something to keep in mind, and I was happy that you were able to note that, JP, in the regulations that were given out to the drivers before we went green. And how about this? We've tightened up hot and heavy for the lead. Here comes Morad with a peek down to the inside, the left-hander at 6. That's going to push Walsh up to the outside. Looked as though Walsh tried to fade over slightly as Morad dips the right side tires off into the dirt. He'll come back in line and go back to the point.
So it's almost like he heard me saying he should say fuel and instantly went for the move. He capitalized on Walsh's mistake on the exit and made the move stick. Now we're going to see if Walsh tries to do the same, trying to force him into a mistake, or he's just going to try to fuel save a bit. With these guys, you never know. It's going to be an interesting battle for the lead now.
You'll have to keep an eye on how important the in and out laps will be, plus your time getting on and off of the pit lane when you have to come in to top off the gas tank and be ready to go. And will that build up any separation amongst these two, who again have seemingly been locked together all season long? I say that being that this is only the second race of the year thus far, but with these races being as long as they are, that's a long time to be in constant combat with only one other competitor. With these two drivers carrying the pro banner in this series, both of them are showcasing why, as they both skate their way through the right-hander. This all going on in excess of 6 seconds ahead of third on back. And we are watching Chris Walsh try to get back around Morad, who was the pole sitter. They're running in the same spots in which they came to green. They're going to be coming up to 17 laps to go. We continue to watch to see if, when, and where the move to pit road may be made. Or are these two going to continue to battle for the top spot? Look at the run that Walsh has as they come up the hill back to the line.
Yeah, it's an incredible run. He got a perfect exit out of the last corner out of turn 14. And now he's just pretty much pushing Daniel into turn 1. He's going to get the inside line. I'm pretty sure Daniel is going to have to back off. Yeah, he does for now. Chris manages to get the move done, but now he sort of went a little bit wide on the apex. That's going to give Morad now another chance into turn 4, and he just backs off. We can see these drivers just pushing each other, but being respectful. We didn't see any contact so far throughout the 2 races, so we just hope this is going to keep on going for the rest of the 17 laps that are expected for this race.
You mentioned how close they come to making contact. However, they were able to avoid such carnage. Now we're going to drop back here to this race, what appears to be for about the 5th spot. If you're watching Hunter Reeve trying to close up here on what continues to be a tight battle for that 4th and 5th spot. And now that's Christopher Bailey, with Reeve getting a big run here, heading up to one of the best passing zones on track. That's the left-hander at turn 5. This is where the lead changed hands earlier on in the event. However, Bailey is able to get late on the brakes, not allowing Reeve to close up, at least under braking. Able to draw a little bit closer as he gets back under power on this short straightaway. But these two starting to mirror what we're watching the front two do. Not a lot of separation amongst these drivers. And we thought that they were starting to reel in your 3rd place setter and Dustin Burkhalter, but that gap is apparently stabilized to about 4 seconds. You can see Burkhalter just a little bit there off into the distance of this battle for 4th, with Bailey currently running in that spot, and Reeve in the yellow and blue car trying to chase him down as they come to the carousel.
Yeah, exactly. Reeve has to try to make a move on Bailey. I was looking at the lap times. His lap times are similar to what Dustin Burkhalter is doing. So if he wants to have even a shot at the podium, he has to make this move stick and trying to push at the limit. These drivers are also going to be going, we see the 2 packs, we see the fight for 3rd place and the fight for the lead still going at it, and that's due to the nature of the track. We see this, the long straights allowing people, even after mistakes sometimes to close back in the long braking zones. If you're confident enough on the brakes, you can gain a lot of time under braking. So, Hunter Reeve, if he wants the shot at the podium, he has to make this move stick soon. Unless he's trying to go for the long game of the strategy. But I can't see that working right now in his favor. He has to try to make a move. He gets a brilliant exit out of turn 14. Let's see if it's going to be close enough to try and make something work into turn 1. And as we actually see a move, Morad is actually closing in on Walsh again, but he's saving fuel. He's lighting off the gas a little bit early. onto the corner, so he's trying to save a little bit of fuel. He may jump Chris on the pit stops, and you can see just the different nature of the two drivers. We see Chris being more comfortable leading, and Daniel looks like he's more comfortable just following, just saving a little bit of fuel, and just playing the long game here.
While we have these groups of battles going on all the way from the front of the pack to mid-pack and more, I want to remind everybody that you are watching round number 2 of the Operation eMotorsport series here on Pit Stop TV, coming at you from Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, with the Mazda MX-5 cars. This is the second race in an 8-race series. Last week, they were at the Virginia International Raceway. Here today, their prestigious 4-mile-in-length road course, where we had an opportunity to talk pre-race with the communications manager at the racetrack, at John Ewart, communications director, I should say. I'm Eric Brennan. JP Casas joining me on the call. It's our buddy Emerson Arden, who's providing you all the views of all these great fights for position that we're seeing, going all the way back to Callum Belden in 9th. We've also got Trey Shuttlesworth holding it down on all the social media outlets, and we cannot thank you enough for tagging along with us to have some fun with a great cause and some great competition in the sim world with Operation Motorsport and this league, as this race for 9th heads through turn 5, and that's pretty much been the action spot all night here, JP. We've seen battle and shuffles for the lead, for 4th, for 6th. We might see some more swapping for positions here at the bottom portion of the top 10.
Yeah, exactly. One of the biggest breaking points in the circuit, this and Canada Corner. So it's natural that we're going to see some people gaining, some people making mistakes as they try to push to the limit to try and squeeze every single 10th of a second off into the car in front or the car behind, just trying to get the distance. And we see Canada Corner not being really a big factor onto mistakes right now, which is quite surprising. If you dip a wheel into the gravel, this is going to be could be like fatal. And this is actually really clean. It's the same thing we saw in Virginia. These drivers putting out an incredible show for us here today, and we're incredibly grateful to be able to commentate on this incredible race.
And this incredible race being brought to you by our friends at RECARO, and RECARO Automotive is proud to support Operation Motorsports in iRacing, and it is because of them we are able to bring you these sights and sound as they come to the line with about 15 laps to go on the leaders, still waiting to see when they may have to make their way on a pit road. We got a tight battle for the lead, a tight battle for 4th. Burkhalter kind of holding down the fort on his own up there in 3rd spot as the 4th and 5th place cars, the Bailey and Reeve, come to the line. Also want to take this opportunity to mention our partners at Permanent Makeup in Maine. And when it comes to your appearance, you deserve the absolute best care that money can buy. And at Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, the owner, and Ashley Bullier, is a certified micropigmentation specialist who provides professional, safe, and personalized services. So if you're looking for the best solutions for your PMU concerns, give them a call today or contact them at permanentmakeupinmaine.com. They also have a number available to call and text, or if you visit their Facebook page at Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, you will see that they do monthly giveaways as well. Submit your entry, and who knows, you might as well win. And that is another one of our presenting sponsors at Permanent Makeup in Maine. Again, to learn more, just visit their website, permanentmakeupinmaine.com. And that fight for 4th is beginning to intensify to turn 5 once more. Thus far, Bailey has been doing a spectacular job holding off Reeve, and Reeve's been doing well in applying the pressure as well.
Yeah, Christopher is not letting any bit of the pressure get to him, which is incredible. We've seen this driver going at it for over 30 minutes actually, and Christopher is just managing their pressure brilliantly. And they're closing in on Dustin. I've been looking at Dustin's lap, and last lap was actually 1.5 seconds slower than his fastest. So definitely running slow by himself. I think he made a big mistake. Obviously he lost 1.5 seconds. So that could be getting, could be motivating Christopher to push a little bit extra to try and get to the podium position. As we see, I'm pretty sure Brian Winker was the first car I saw going into the pit lane. So this could be getting close to the point where we see cars diving into the pits, as we could see the strategy game playing out for Morad.
And with Walls still leading over Morad by a deficit which we have not seen grow more than a second in this race. That was after Morad made a brief mistake, fell back a little bit, but was able to close right back up on the back bumper of Walsh for that top spot. Burkhalter's still riding third, then Bailey and Reeve your top 5. Then it's Keats in 6th. Poppenhaus, who has made up a few spots after starting outside of the top 10, as we mentioned earlier, in 7th. Bernard takes you back to 8th, followed by Belden and Gleason, who have been locked together in a fight for 9th and 10th. And we're watching here Bernard holding down the spot ahead of Belden. These two have been virtually inseparable over the last few laps. And as JP mentioned, with pit stops looming, that could shuffle up some of these races for positions. It looked like Bernard nearly clipped the dirt as he came off the exit with the left side. And that cost him some ground.
Yeah, as we've seen, the second car leaving the pit lane is actually Mark Bray, who just left the pit lane. He just let 4th and 5th place go to follow their battle. We see Reeve getting better and better exit, getting closer and closer into turn 1. I'm just waiting for the moment where the move comes. As we see Christopher making a little bit of mistake on the entry of turn 4, I'm pretty sure, and now he's going to be vulnerable to Hunter Reeve as they go down into turn 5. Let's see if Christopher is going to have to go defensive if he wants to hold that position. Is Reeve going to dive down the inside?
Looks as though that for now, Reeve is staying in the tire tracks. We talked about how important it is to get off the corner here at some of these select spots, turn 4 being one of them. And then you see a little bit late on the brakes that Bailey elects to fade a driver's left to hold the spot. Reeve just not quite close enough to try to make a pass just yet, but Reeve has been relentless as far as applying pressure. And again, Reeve, one of the beneficiaries in the field. In fact, according to my statistics, may in fact be one of the top runnings. As we see Jason Leach, perhaps one of the first cars to make it on the pit lane, was running top 10, still staying there in the pit area. I believe that may be a scheduled stop. Did not see any obvious damage from my perspective, but that would be one of the first cars in the top 10 to duck on pit road.
Yeah, as we can see now, we're going to be playing the waiting game as we see who's going to dive into the pits first. This is a long lap, remember, so we might not see a lot of undercuts and actually overcuts happening. You know, Virginia is very short compared to this track, so we could see a little some drivers playing out 3 to 4 laps later. But this track being the massive track that it is, it should play out as the strategy game, as everybody should be diving into the pits at the same time in relation to the people that we're watching battling, such as Chris Walsh and Morad and Bailey and Reeve. As I just spotted, you know, Reeve on the run down to Canada corner, just letting off the throttle to try and maybe save a little bit of fuel, maybe just not trying to lose a lot of time to Burkhalter. You know, as they say, they're only 4 seconds apart, so if you make a mistake here, just as as Christopher actually made a mistake on turn 14, so he's probably going to be vulnerable again into turn 1. So Christopher actually, you know, as we said, he was soaking up the pressure really well, but unfortunately now a couple of mistakes into consecutive laps is going to leave him vulnerable into turn 1, as Reeve is probably going to be looking down to make a move.
Big run up the front straightaway as Bailey looks to start to fade. Look at that. Just kind of leaves enough room, maybe a quarter car length between the left side of his car and the grass line to be ready to defend, but we never really saw the move made there. And a reminder that you can tell your friends, how about this though? Big run off of turn 3 as they're going to pull side by side. Don't forget to tell your friends, your family, your sim racing enthusiasts that we are available on multiple platforms, including that of Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube, as we are continuing to watch this incredible battle for 4th, while the top 2 are also relatively close. Haven't seen them battle for position though in quite some time. So we're keeping our eyes here on Bailey and Reeve, 4th and 5th, all part of our second race at the Operation eMotorsport League presented by RECARO here on Pit Stop TV. And another one of our presenting sponsors, as we jump back up to the leaders and eclipse the halfway point on the stopwatch, is Tucson Sound Art. That is your picture, your music. If you provide any image you want, they will customize and create a beautiful framed high-quality canvas with a built-in Bluetooth speaker with sound art. As somebody who's getting into the home buying process, I'm going to have to check that out. You get the best of both worlds. So visit TucsonSoundArt.com to learn more. I know what my plan is when we go off air in just a short while, as the leaders still have about 13 laps to go. Again, this is also a 1-hour timed event. We're showing about 34 minutes of elapsed time that has gone through. We'll see if we get all these laps into the finish, but it has been all Chris Walsh since getting around the pole sitter in Morad. And they battled for the lead. In fact, changed the top spot, exchanged hands at the top spot, I should say, on more than one occasion. Burkhalter's pretty much been in a world of his own in 3rd spot. Not sure that he minds holding down that 3rd position and not feeling the pressure from behind. There he is as he exits the kink. pretty much running in the third position all race long, a position which he's familiar with. That's where he came to the checkered flag at VIR a week ago. It's one of the open drivers in the field. Haven't seen him get up there to lead. He started third, runs third thus far. A pretty clean race, looking for his second podium of the season in the short 2 races that we will have run at the conclusion of this event. And we've been following also that intense battle for fourth between Christopher Bailey as well as Reeve, Hunter Reeve that is. And there they are, still separated by about 2 car lengths, as it looks as though we might have a move to the pit area by one of our front runners. I believe Chris Walsh may have ducked onto the pit lane according to timing and scoring. We see Morad move to the front, and there he is, Walsh onto the pit lane. This is going to be a crucial stop, and the outlap is also going to be super important, JP.
Yeah, it's exactly. Now we're gonna see the time that he stays on the pit. I'm gonna try to time it to compare to Morad because I just can't wait to see where these drivers are gonna get out. And the outlap, as you said, is really, really important as he comes to a stop. And if he gets onto traffic on the exit, that could play a factor into Morad getting the lead. And remember, it's only a one-stop race, so after the exit, we shouldn't see a lot of drivers trying to save fuel, trying to conserve fuel. We should start seeing moves being made into turns 1, 4, and 5, you know, and to Canada corners. So the second half of this race, if the first half wasn't exciting enough, is going to be much more exciting.
And you bring up an excellent point, JP, as we also see Callum Belden, who's up in the top 10, ducking on the pit road. Looks as though the bulk of the field remains on track. Glenn Gray is coming into the pits as well, after he was running just outside the top 10 at the time he elects to come down for service. I did not think of the possibility of being mired in traffic, with the separation being as large as it is. We were talking about all these close 2-car battles throughout the field. There's a good chance that once some of these front runners come into the pit lane, they're going to be around some names of some drivers that they may not have been racing with up to this point in the race. It looks as though that for the moment, Walsh appears to be clear of some of the ensuing traffic, and now our eyes focus on a number of other competitors who slip and slide their way through the pack. Looks as though that might have been Papadouse, who's picking up a few extra tenths of a second out there. And I'm curious if these two are going to be coming down together. That's currently Christopher Bailey and Hunter Reeve. After the pit stop by Walsh, they move up to third and fourth. They've been inseparable. They might even go to dinner together when tonight's race is over. They've been running so close, and we'll see if they elect to come down the pit lane together as well, as they should be closing or inching up on that pit stop in just a short moment.
Yeah, pretty sure there's no love lost between the two. As Chris Walsh, as you said, you know, he came up on a healthy lead, on a healthy, like a clear patch of track. He's closing up to Jay Gleason. You know, Jay has been running, you know, he's not on the pace of the pro runners, but, you know, the gap seems to be enough. He may catch on to Jay at the end of the lap, but, you know, the top 3, the battle for what's going to be P4, as Christopher Bailey goes sideways into turn 14. That was an incredible save. These two might be going into the pits at the same time. If they do, let's see, as Christopher Bailey dives onto the pits, Hunter Reeve stays out for another lap. So this is going to be interesting to see how the two drivers are going to pan out after the pit stops, as Daniel Morad stays out onto the track. He's not coming in. So maybe that was trying sort of an undercut from Chris Walsh to trying to get trying to maintain actually his lead and maybe build a little bit of a gap, as Morad's actually coming up into some lap traffic right now. So let's see if that's gonna play a major factor into the next few laps, as Morad is gonna start to think about coming into the pits.
So for those of you keeping score at home, we've got Bailey, who was running in the 4th spot, battling with Hunter Reeve as one of the first of that group to hit the pit area, and Chris Walsh, who was the leader, one of the first to hit the pit area. In fact, now watching, as I was able to keep my eye momentarily, Timothy Bernard also running up in the top 10, electing to dive to the pit lane. Looked as though Daniel Morad just had to overtake a lap car as he came through turn number 5. And as JP mentioned, Jay Gleason is on the pit lane. We have yet to see the quick time setter in qualifying, and Daniel Morad hit the pit lane. And now that he's started to negotiate some lap traffic of his own, the undercut option by Chris Walsh may turn out to be the move that leapfrogs him ahead of Morad in this race. We're only going to find out once Morad finally elects to come down and make that pit stop. But you see, as we start to cycle through these stops, Walsh is already back up to 4th, with the 3 cars ahead of him yet to come down the pit lane.
Exactly, and as Christopher Bailey also went for sort of an undercut on Hunter Reeve to trying to maintain that essential P4. He's come out on a clear patch of track as well, so these drivers, obviously it's a massive track. Unfortunately, we only have a 20-car grid, so traffic, if it played a factor, is going to be bad luck. But look like these drivers are actually putting on, actually came out on a perfect strategy. As Hunter Reeve, I'm pretty sure it's closing in. No, he's not closing in, unfortunately. On Dirk Borkhalter is a lapped car, unfortunately, in front of him. But it's going to be interesting to see if Hunter Reeve, unlike Mora, is going to be coming in at the exact lap, the next lap as his competitor. We're just going to have to wait and see, as Mora is coming up to turn 14 right now. We should be seeing him dive into the pits at the end of this lap, and yes, he's coming into the pits, so this is going to be interesting for the lead.
So as we see Morad now diving off of the last corner up the hill on the pit road, the question is going to be, where does Chris Walsh end up when this stop is said and done? We're also dropping back to see another car trying to come down towards the pit area. Brian Burkhardt just went a lap down to the leader. I believe that he had a crash just behind the race leader. This is a replay of what happened to Burkhardt. This is the lap in which Morad elected to come to the pit lane. Ooh, it looked like he went a little bit too far over the rumble strip with the right side tires. Overcorrected off the corner. Fortunately, this happened behind Morad in his pathway into the pit lane. And that is why we are showing that of Burkhardt. And we see Morad still sitting on the pit lane while the third place driver, Dustin Burkhalter, he comes down pit road and will come in for a stop, as will Hunter Reeve. So it'll be imperative to see where Reeve comes out in reference to that of Christopher Bailey, who those two were in lockstep formation. As here comes Walsh off the final corner. Where is Morad going to blend up, as it looks as though he may just have dropped the jack and is pulling back out on the racetrack?
Yeah, that was an incredibly fast stop from Daniel Morad. You know, he's already heading into turn 4. So that was incredible. I timed Christopher Walsh's stop. It was 33.5 seconds. Morad's stop was around 22.4. So 11 seconds difference on the pit stop. So it's interesting to see, maybe Walsh forgot to set up the fuel. Maybe he changed tires. I couldn't really tell. But, you know, this is incredible to see the difference. And now Chris Walsh is going to have to put on time attack mode. You know, he has to close in that gap if he wants the win again. And I'm amazed, you know, to see the gap that the two drivers actually came ahead. And Hunter Reeve actually jumped Christopher Bailey as well. So the fuel save strategy may have worked in his favor. You know, he's actually built a healthy lead, and he's going to be he actually on P3, as Dustin Burkhalter was still in the pits. He's only now exiting. So the race has completely shifted into this pit cycle.
Very curious if some of the pit preferences, as you mentioned, JP, are going to play a role in not only who wins this race, but how our top 5 looks. A completely different view of some of the runners that are up in those spots, including Hunter Reeve, who's on the podium thus far for the first time in this race with now less than 10 laps to go. And how about Poppenhaus? We gave him a call after qualifying 11th, getting up to 7th at the time of the pit stops, now running in the top 5 all race long. So this race truly being turned over on its side with this 50% fuel load when they came down to start. And I think this is kind of what we were hoping for. Seeing a little bit of a mixed bag, throwing in some pit strategy, and it's certainly filtering out a couple of names which we saw towards the front of the field all race long. And you mentioned Walsh having to be on time attack mode. He has to make up a margin in excess of 15 seconds in these waning laps as we cycle through some of the other battles that are taking place on track. And this looks as though this is Poppenhaus under fire from that of Keentz as they run side by side all the way through the corner. You don't see that too often at Road America through the carousel. It looks as though that's going to be Keentz taking the spot away from Poppenhaus in what may be a battle for 5th.
That was an incredible dive from John Keentz. That was incredibly risky. You know, luckily Poppenhaus opened the door a bit, you know, to try and avoid contact. But then Joe just completely went around the outside of the carousel. We don't see that often on Road America, especially on low downforce cars such as the Miata, you know. So that was an incredible move, incredibly clean. And if he has the pace, if he has the confidence to pull that off, he's probably going to have the confidence to just drive away from Poppenhaus. Let's see if he can keep up, you know, as we head into the final 9 laps of the race, you know, just over 15 minutes to go. So this is time attack mode for pretty much every single driver right now. You know, we see 15 seconds is the difference between Chris Walsh and Daniel Morad. as the pit cycles, the gaps come together. So it's going to be really interesting. Now we have another few battles. As we lost 2 battles, we have another one popping up, obviously with Poppenhaus, as he's not going to let that position get away from him so easily.
Yeah, Poppenhaus wants to be up in the top 5. Works hard to get there, wants to do all he can to stay there. And by pulling out down to the inside as they approach turn 1, who's going to break last? Look at these two. They ran side by side through the carousel. They tried to make it through turn 1 in its entirety, but it's going to be Poppenhaus getting the spot back. This may be one of the best battles we have going down to the checkers. We go on board now with Kientz, who closes up here, washes up a little bit on the exit of turn 3. Want to keep the momentum up, though, down this straightaway. At the exit of what I should have said was, in fact, turn 4. Approaching the left-hander at 5. We've seen multiple passes for position, not missing anything up front. Margin remains the same at just over 15 seconds. And here comes Kientz looking to get that spot back from Poppenhaus. What a race these two are putting on for 5th.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's so satisfying watching Kientz. You know, he's just so confident on the brakes. We saw him trying to hold Roundy outside of turn 1, which is not something we saw all race long. You know, normally when you have the inside line, when you have someone on your inside line, you just give the corner away and try and set yourself up. But he was just trying to battle, so that is incredible to see. You know, he's just not giving up the place and he's trying to fight for it. As he made the move stick into turn 5, you know, around the inside, sorry, the words didn't come out of my mouth, and now he's pulling away from Poppenhaus, so Poppenhaus really has to step up the pace a bit if he wants to hold that 5th place.
See Jonathan Winker coming down the pit lane, one of the cars that was involved in an earlier incident, had to do one of the quick repairs, thus able to make a little bit of a later pit stop. So Winker is going to plummet a little bit further down the running order after some misfortune earlier on in the event. But we are watching what is about to be the final 15 minutes or less, with less than 9 laps to go, and this is the second race of the season on this 8-race calendar as part of Operation eMotorsport here on Pit Stop TV, presented by RECARO. And so far this season, the story has been that of Chris Walsh and Daniel Morad, the 2 pro drivers in the field. We're presenting this race to you as it is one combined effort, but they're in fact scoring points across 3 different classes: the pros, the opens, and the beneficiaries. Now, the beneficiaries are members of the Operation Motorsport community. To learn more about them and all their efforts that they're taking part in, with this esports pathway being a bit of a new venture for them in 2020, visit operationmotorsport.org. And thus far, according to my notes, the highest running beneficiary as of right now is your 3rd place driver in Hunter Reeve. And that may be one of the highest finishes if he can hold on to that spot by a beneficiary this season, as we see Reeve on screen now. After starting back in 7th spot, working his way up to 3rd and holding that spot down after battling hard with Bailey, who looked as though may have just had a big mistake just behind him as they came off the corner. Saw all 4 tires off into the dirt. This is Bailey's first start of the season, and not a bad run thus far after running in 4th. And being up towards the front, looks as though he got too hard on the binders getting into the corner, maybe too much rear brake on the backside of that MX-5. And looping it around. Have to get confirmation on what class assignment belongs to that of Bailey. Not exactly sure, but unofficially it looks as though the top open driver would either be Bailey or the driver in 5th in Joe Kientz. And that is a look at your top running drivers across the 3 different represented championship points paying classes, with now less than 8 laps to go, and Bailey is just sailing it off into the corner lap after lap. And then there's this battle between Poppenhaus and Kientz that continues on for 5th. Looked as though Poppenhaus made the pass back.
Yeah, you know, as we lost the battle for the lead and battle for 4th place, we gain another battle for 5th, and this is just exactly as the other one. It doesn't seem to be going away. We see Joe pulling away a bit into the 1st and 2nd sector, but then we just see Poppenhaus with the smooth drive. He just manages to sail it back into the 3rd, and as you can see, Joe is just incredibly brave and confident on the brakes, but unfortunately that can lead into some mistakes, as we just saw. In the gap sort of just pulls away a little bit, but due to the nature of this track, I'm pretty sure we're going to be seeing them side by side again very soon. And just to touch up, this is for the lead. This could be what we saw last week. You know, we saw Morad, actually Walsh, leading last week, and Morad made a mistake, a small mistake. He had to go into that time attack mode, which caused him to make 2 mistakes. And I was just looking at onboard of Walsh, and he's on that time attack mode. No, he's pushing the limits. So, the battle, Bailey might have not lost the podium. If Chris Walsh is pushing to try and get that win on these final 7 laps, it's very unlikely unless Morad makes a mistake. But if he does make a mistake, we saw last week, it can be costly for your race.
And that margin is coming down. Over the last 2 laps, it looks as though Walsh has been able to about eat up, we'll call it about 2+ seconds. It was a 15-second advantage that Morad had over Walsh, now down to 12.7 with the live timing on the left-hand portion of your screen. Not sure if he will be able to continue that charge for that long of a time, but if the trend continues, let's call it 2.5 seconds a lap. In 7 laps, he would be there if he can keep that trend up. Again, not sure if Morad is starting to make a couple of mistakes running out front by his lonesome, or if Walsh is just pushing so hard. And as you mentioned, JP, at some point, that type of aggression could come out and bite you, especially on a track like that of Road America, which we've seen numerous mistakes made by many drivers across the running order so far, all being except your front runner, and Daniel Morad, who, as we mentioned, started first, currently running first, but that doesn't tell the whole tale of the tape. You see there, he did drop only as low as second, but perhaps pit strategy is going to be the key to victory. But Walsh is really starting to eat up that margin, now down in the 11-second bracket as we're coming up on about 6 laps to go, less than 10 minutes to go on the stopwatch.
Yeah, I was just looking at the onboard of Walsh. He's really pushing the car. Right before carousel, he actually got really loose. He was drifting off the corner, so he's really pushing that car. It's just gonna be interesting to see if Morad went into that conservation mode. Just trying to not push the car, trying not to force a mistake, as he doesn't need to. He can afford to. Well, he could afford at the beginning of the lap to lose around 2 seconds a lap. Now, obviously, it's not the case. Morad could be going to the conservation mode, just trying to get the car home, and his lap times are dropping ever so slightly. Before he was running 39s behind Chris Walsh, now he's running 41s, and Walsh is not letting off. He is putting the 39s, the 40s to try and close the gap ever so slightly. And Morad, if he has the relative box and he sees the gap closing in, that can get into your head, and that can try to force you to push a little bit more, and that could end up, making a mistake. Obviously, he's a pro driver, so that is very unlikely, but it's definitely a possibility.
Also, the impressive thing about Chris Walsh's charge forward is he's got the margin down to about 10 seconds. We're on board with him down the front straightaway. He's chasing the car that is running back in the 16th spot. That's Jonathan Winker, who, as we mentioned, had a late pit stop after an early crash in this event. Not sure if Walsh is welcoming the bit of a draft that he's getting off Winker down the straightaways, or if he wants by quickly. And if he can get clear of Winker, how much more could he bite into the deficit that is now down to 9.8 seconds as he comes off of turn number 3? And I'm sure Walsh is desperately trying to figure out a way to get up and around that of Winker. Have not seen any communication via the text chat in the iRacing platform. Not sure if Walsh is asking or looking for a little bit of help from Winker to find a way by. But irregardless, he's still cutting into that lead. Not sure if we're going to make it all the way as far as laps go. We may not see this race go 6 laps to the finish. I'm showing about 53.5 minutes in the books. It's going to be tight, so Walsh is definitely starting to feel that little bit of desperation. If he wants to go 2 for 2 on the season, he's got to find a way around Winker, who bobbles just in front of him.
That's the dangerous part of following a lapped car. You never know what's going to happen. And I'm sure he's getting the blue flag, so he knows he has to let go, has to let Walsh go, but that was incredibly close. That was extremely lucky to avoid a contact. As we can see, he just puts a wheel onto the grass. And as I'm looking on the replay, Joe actually makes an incredible dive down the inside of Poppenhaus, as that battle has not washed away. He just went, Poppenhaus actually defending throughout the straight, and just in the last second went to the outside. Joe sold him the dummy and went for it. I was just looking at them, and it's incredible. Joe is just so confident on the brakes, and it's just so much fun to watch him going behind someone. Just reminds me of Daniel Ricciardo in Formula One. You never know how, as he makes a massive mistake, is he gonna keep up that fifth position? Sorry, and he does. Wow, that was incredibly lucky.
Fascinating to watch how sideways that car got, and we're going to be able to take another look at it here. This was coming through the left-hander, just ran a little bit wide, got off into the grass. We've seen that be a fatal mistake for a few drivers thus far tonight, and a great job by Poppenhaus to swing wide and not run square into the back of Keen's car to cause that to be a major incident amongst the two drivers. Otherwise, Burkhalter would have been looking for an avenue to get back up into the top 5. But so far, it is still Keen's ahead of Poppenhaus. That's your best battle on track. It looks as though that Chris Walsh has gotten clear of Winker to lap traffic, but that gap is now stabilized at about 9.5 seconds with 5 laps to go. It's the best race so far. It continues to be that 5th place driver in Joe Keynes and Adam Poppenhaus on your screen battling for 5th and 6th respectively.
Yeah, you just saw on the stream the wheel work that went to trying to save that car. So you can see these drivers are pushing to the limit. They're trying to get as high up in the positions as they can, and Joe actually is trying to pull that gap. Even when he's ahead, he's being aggressive on the brake, he's being aggressive on turning, and he's actually defending quite a lot more than we saw previously. And Poppenhaus does not want to see any bit of it. With 4 minutes to go, there's no time to settle, there's no time for caution, as Poppenhaus tried to look down the inside, but Joe closes the door, and he's gonna have to wait probably until turn 5 right now, as this battle only heats up with 4 minutes to go.
And perhaps one of the most impressive things for us to keep in mind is, even though there is only 5 or less laps to go, with all that being considered, these drivers have worked very hard and tirelessly for the last 55 plus minutes. This is a great chance to throw it all away. All it's going to take is one major slip, one bit of major contact to relegate you pretty far down the running order with not much time to make it back up. So it is interesting to watch, especially in that race for 5th. Those drivers play nice as we close up now on Jason Leach, who is 1 spot shy of a top 10 run right now. He's got Jake Gleason pressuring, now looking outside at the end of the front stretch, as there are battles still after all of the laps that have been turned over this 4-mile 14 course layout. There is still 2 car tandems that are jockeying for a position all throughout the field, not just in the top 5. For Leach, though, it's been a pretty steady climb after starting back at 15th, now running 11th. We saw Leach being one of the first cars to hit the pit lane. Still appears to be 1 spot shy of a top 10 spot, but there could be a door that opens if one of the top 10 contenders does run into a mistake. As last time around, Walsh was able to gain another second on your leader in Morad, but I'm afraid the time is starting to run out, as Daniel Morad will look to become the second overall winner on this series in just 2 races after settling for 2nd at BIR. Thus far, it's clear track ahead, and a lot of that may be, in fact, courtesy of the pit strategy.
Yeah, incredible strategy from Morad. He raced an incredible race today. As the battle for 5th, I'm sorry, I just keep plugging it back onto the stream, but it just does not stop. As Joe looks down the inside of the Canada corner, he's going to make a move stick. They're going to be going side by side as they head into the final few corners of the racetrack. I'm pretty sure Joe is not going to back off. As you can see on the stream, he doesn't. Both cars leave tons of room into each other. Massive respect, as Joe now has the inside line into turn 14. Is he going to stick his nose in there? He sticks. Are we going to see a little bit of door barging? No, we don't. So incredible move, incredible respect between these two, and Joe is not letting that P5 get away from him, as we only have 2 minutes to go. So it's probably going to be 2 laps after this one. So this battle for 5th place is going to be heating up a lot, as we run down the final few laps. So these drivers are going to be pushing the absolute limit of the car. They're going to be going for moves that we probably haven't seen all race. And just for this final few minutes, I just can't wait. As we can see again, Joe just being so much more aggressive on turn in. Unfortunately, that hurts his exit into turn 4. But I'm pretty sure he's just not going to let that go away so easily. No, he's piling on the pressure of Adam Poppenhaus. We saw Joe make a few mistakes. We saw Poppenhaus make a few mistakes. So this is definitely not settled.
And fun to point out that Poppenhaus is one of the beneficiaries that is being class ranked or scored in this series as of now. for this esports competition, as we see Jacob Williams diving out of the pit lane. That might allow Leach to jump up into the top 10 if he stays on the pit lane for too long. And great to see that for Poppenhaus, who kind of is one of the drivers, along with that of Hunter Reeve and a few others, who are helping carry the banner for this series as this fight continues on for 5th spot. And that pretty much allows us to open the door of what this is all about. And it's providing a virtual racing series that'll bring together these beneficiaries, veterans, military members, even some race car drivers and crew members and other supporters of the foundation to compete on a neutral and friendly virtual racing environment, even under such tough times. That's why we're able to see one of the open drivers and the beneficiaries battling for this 5th spot, all while a couple of the pros are holding down the top sector of the running order. And boy, Walsh still clicked off another 2 seconds on that battle for the lead, where I kind of wish we would be able to see these 4 laps go to the end, but I'm with you, JP. Not sure that the clock is going to allow us to get there. We'll see the next time the leader comes back to the line.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is going to be the white flag as coming by, as we just passed the 1 hour lapse time, so I'm not sure if this is going to be the end of the race if you got the white flag, but I was just looking. Christopher Bailey actually is coming back to Hunter Reeve. You know, he's less than a second. Maybe Hunter Reeve miscalculated the fuel and now having to save, as his final few laps have been off the pace, so I'm not pretty sure if he's saving. So we could be seeing a battle for the podium on the final lap of the race erupt.
Don't see any indication that the white flag has been given, so I'm holding my breath that we see this one down to the end, because the battle for the lead is starting to close up significantly. Walsh has gotten it down to 4 seconds. Bailey has gotten the battle for 3rd down to about 2 seconds on Reeve. There they are, both in the same camera shot at the end of the front stretch, with now less than 3 laps to go. We talked about how these two were pretty much inseparable. We can expect to see them sharing coffees tomorrow morning, but they may not be done racing each other on the track just yet, with Reeve trying to hold down that final spot on the podium, and Bailey, in what we believe is his first race of the season, trying to catch him. And here's the battle for 5th, side by side again, the turn 1.
So yeah, this is just incredible. The race is really unfolding on this final few laps. We're not sure if Morad and Reeve may have miscalculated the fuel. You know, remember, Morad's stop was 12 seconds quicker than Walsh's. So, you know, the fuel calculation may have been off, and he's having to fuel save throughout these final stints. So this is going to be really interesting, as Christopher Bailey now is closing in ever so slightly on Hunter Reeve, and Joe Kentz and Poppenhaus, they're still going at it. So now we have a battle for 1st, a battle for 3rd, and a battle for 5th. So it's just incredible final few laps of this race, and I hope we're going to see another 3 laps of this fantastic race unfold.
And that is after we've gone over an hour of competition at the 4+ mile layout. That is the very tough and challenging Road America layout with the Mazda MX-5 cars, with a race series that is representative of 3 different classes of driver. They're all racing here under the same banner right now, and we have seen just how competitive they can all be, as another big bobble takes place there for Keen's trying to hold down 5th. Walsh still closing up on Morad. Bailey still closing up on Reeve. It is hard to believe that we've been going at this for over 60 minutes time, JP, but it's starting to close up like we just came to the green flag in this thing, as here's that battle between Reeve and Bailey.
Yeah, I just can't believe we're seeing this for over an hour. We saw this last week, and this is just one step further. You know, we thought the battle for the lead was done and dusted. We thought Morad is just gonna cruise to the end, but as we saw in the final few laps, Walsh is really pushing that car to try and close that gap, and Reeve is actually coming up under pressure from Bailey, as he's now closer than ever throughout the second stint, as he gets massive oversteer action onto that car as they head into turn 14. We're not sure what's happening to these cars, as we passed over 1 hour of lapse time, but we're still 2 laps to go on the stream, as Reeve dives onto the pit. So it's a miscalculation of fuel, and that's going to cost him the podium position.
Wow, so Reeve is not going to be able to make it to the end. What does that mean for Daniel Morad, the race leader? Maybe that's why we're seeing the lead plummet down. 2 laps to go, so we're going to see this thing to the end, because we still got 3 green lights at the top left of the scoring pylon. Can Morad make it? I mean, that lead is now down to 2.8 seconds. Perhaps he has miscalculated on the fuel effort, or thought this race would go checkers a little bit earlier, but Walsh can now see out the windshield that Morad is just ahead.
this is just gonna be an incredible confidence booster for Walsh. You know, after the pit stops, as we can see, Daniel Morad goes a little bit wide, so he's losing time that he may not actually be able to. So if he has to dive into the pits at these final few laps, that's going to be race over for him. That's definitely going to be out of contention for the win and definitely for the podium, as Walsh now seeing all that hard work, all those laps that he was pushing paying off. You know, he can see the win right outside his front windshield. So this is going to be incredibly interesting to the end, and I just can't wait. And Poppenhaus and Kent and Joe are also going at it, but this battle for the lead is going to be incredible. It's going to be incredible. So we hope to see the white flag on the next lap, and we're just going to see if Daniel Moritz just has enough fuel to try to make one more lap. And as you said, this is one giant track, so one lap here is an incredible amount of fuel, and even if he miscalculated by 1 liter, that could prove costly towards the outcome of this race.
So unbelievable scenes that are shaping up here at the virtual Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin for the Operation eMotorsports League, their second race of the season, presented by RECARO. And we are watching a number of battles on track, one of which is closing down in the battle for the lead. Just saw Walsh make a big mistake as they came off the corner there through the kink. And also Daniel Morad, who qualified on pole, was battling for the lead with Walsh and noticeably had a huge advantage at the end of the pit stops. And after watching Hunter Reeve have to dive on the pit lane, we are wondering if Morad is going to be able to make it to the end. He's committed because he is not diving to the pits. He's going to come up on the front straightaway with Walsh closing now to a second behind him as they come to the line with 1 to go.
This is going to be an incredible final lap, if it is the final lap. We're not even sure yet. This is going to be incredible as Walsh is now closer than ever. He's 0.8 of a second. As we can see, Morad is actually fuel saving, so he's actually short on fuel, or he might be just on the limit. You know, I saw him lifting up to that corner as he now pushes the limits of the car. He goes onto the grass, risking everything to try and keep up that P1 position. As he lifts now, Walsh is going to be diving down the inside. He's going to make the move stick. He's going to be trying to push Morad off the track as Morad sticks it around the outside. Sorry, I'm running out of words. And Walsh is going to be, you can see him, he's going to be pushing to the outside of the inside. He's going to be trying to move down the inside. So Morad is actually trying to push him as far left as he can. So Morad is trying to push Walsh as far left as he can. Now he has to back off the throttle. So he has to let the lead go in order to try to finish this race. No, he doesn't. He actually makes a huge dive down the inside and manages to keep the first position.
Morad trying to counter as they come through 5. This is it for the last time. This is where these two were battling for the lead at the start of the race. And now Walsh has gotten back up to the top spot. Morad, though, falling about a car length behind as they approach the carousel for the final time. If these two get together, Bailey is 22 seconds back. It is Walsh trying to go 2 for 2 on the season. Morad trying to get back around to the top spot. He works the outside of the left-hander as they duck back in line.
You can see Morad is trying to fuel save in every single corner. Now Walsh is going to try to go around the outside. He's looking for the gap. He can't unfortunately see it. Doesn't look like it. Is he going to pop the nose in? No, he just runs out of road. But I can see Morad just trying to lift and coast throughout those braking zones as he's lifting again. So Walsh is going to be going down the inside of the kink. He's going to be making the move stick as he's probably going to get the win on the final lap, on the final sector of this race.
Chris Walsh to the point after Morad appears to be stumbling. Not sure if that car is running out of fuel, and if it is he going to be able to make his way back around to the checkers? He's well off the pace as they approach the next corner. And Chris Walsh is going to set sail. Not that many corners left to go, but it was Walsh who had to settle for second in qualifying, while Morad is still off the pace. We may not be done shuffling up the running order. But Walsh
Morad actually ran out of fuel. Sorry, I cut you off, but Morad is out of fuel. He's just chugging, trying to get a car. I'm not pretty sure if he's going to be making up the hill on this pace.
And here comes Chris Walsh for the second time in 2020 in 2 races, played the pit strategy to perfection and was able to take the lead away on a last lap pass, and he grabs the win at Road America for the Operation eMotorsport League presented by RECARO. It's Walsh who goes 2 for 2 to start off the season.
Now all eyes. Oh, Mora is actually getting a push from Christopher Bailey. Christopher Bailey, on an incredible act of sportsmanship, is pushing Daniel Morad into the finish so he can finish second. Oh, Morad is actually diving into the pit, so he's gonna let that second place go to Christopher Bailey. That was an incredible act of sportsmanship. You know, hats off to Christopher to not just running away. And as we can see, Poppenhaus lost actually P4 on the last lap of this race, and Morad's actually stopped. He's not gonna be making the final lap. And can Joe hold this off? Poppenhaus is on the slipstream, and he just holds it off. What a race.
That was the drag race to the line for third. As timing and scoring updates, and as you mentioned, JP, Morad not going to make it to the checkered flag. That may kick him all the way out of the top 10 when all said and done. There was a huge deficit from the race leaders all the way back throughout the bottom portion of the top 10. There you see Morad's car as it is stationary at the entrance to pit road. I'm with you. Thought Bailey was going to bring him all the way home to the checkers. Now we're watching Callum Belden, who's going to pick up a spot as he comes up the hill to the start-finish line. He's going to go around the stationary car there of Morad to come home and take sixth. But wow, I thought Morad was going to make it up to the line, or at least to his pit stall perhaps. And we are still watching the fastest driver in qualifying, the driver who led the most laps in this race, plummet down the running order as the rest of the top 10 comes to the line.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Morad's unfortunately is going to finish down into P14 as Glenn Gray is the final car, which is going to be crossing the line. Obviously, he's not up into the final few corners yet. But what a disaster final lap for Daniel Morad. You know, just miscalculated the fuel by probably 1 lap. So that made all the difference. You know, we saw Chris Walsh. We're not sure yet if he overfueled the car, but we definitely saw Morad underfuel the car quite a lot as he had to fuel save throughout the second stint. And an absolute disaster of a race as Jason Leach, the driver that we were talking about earlier, manages to get a P10. As I said, the race is not over until it's over.
Looks as though that Williams is out of fuel coming up the front straightaway. Jacob Williams, that was coming to the line. His car slowly, gingerly going to make his way down to the end. And I'll tell you what, I don't know how some of these drivers feel about it, but the idea that they started on a 50% fuel load, I love it. This was the most drama that I've seen in any road course series coming down to the end in a 1-hour affair. And we saw how important it was to make sure that you put enough fuel in the tank to make it all the way to the end. Some of them timed it to perfection. Others obviously did not. Fortunately, they got 6 races left to go to make it up. And when we turn our attention and turn the page to our next round of racing action, but this is one that all these drivers, pros, opens, and beneficiaries are going to be talking about for quite some time, with Walsh now going 2 for 2, Bailey, your runner-up, and Keentz, your podium.
Yeah, that was an incredible race. I'm out of breath out of that one. You know, I thought the VIR race nothing was gonna top it, and this absolutely blew. You know, last race was incredible. This race was just pretty much perfection. We thought the race was settled. You know, we thought we knew who's going to be finishing P1, P2. And on the final, I think 5 laps, we saw all of that going up in the air as people ran out of fuel. People were trying to make moves. And I'm out of breath. I can't wait for the interviews to see how these drivers are faring up after this 1-hour race.
Well, with that, we have gone to the checkers. I think we all need a moment to catch our breath. So we're going to do just that. As JP mentioned, on the other side, we're going to try to grab a couple of opportunities to talk to some of our class winners throughout the field after what was a wild one here at Road America. You're watching our coverage of the Operation eMotorsport League presented by RECARO. We'll be back in just a moment here from the virtual Road America.
Sound art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it sound art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
Back at Road America, where we just saw the checkered flag for round number 2 of the Operation eMotorsport series here at the virtual Road America circuit in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, with the Mazda MX-5s here on Pit Stop TV with our coverage presented by our friends at RECARO Automotive, where RECARO puts people first every time. If you were not with us for the final 60-plus minutes, you missed one, which I am going to encourage you to go back and rewatch. Not just because the driver that we're about to talk to as our winner grabbed his second win of the season, but it's because of how it all unfolded. And now is a great opportunity to bring in our driver who is thus far perfect. After finishing P1 at VIR and starting on pole, just missed out on a pole position opportunity here when we came down to qualifying. Looked as though he was going to be in a battle all race long with Daniel Morad, but a new wrinkle that was thrown into the mix here with the driver starting on 50% of a fuel load kind of gave us all the thrills that we had in the late stages. And even though the final margin of victory is a relatively big one, in excess of 37 seconds, that in no way tells the story and the pathway in which this driver was able to head to victory lane. With that, want to invite Chris Walsh, who we understand is waiting in the wings, to have an opportunity to tell us how it all went down. And once we get Chris in here and situated, we'll have a chance to chat with him. And Chris, I'll tell you, just an absolute thriller. It was really fun, Chris, to watch this race unfold. We know that you just missed out on the pole position in what was another battle with Daniel Morad, but the new pit strategy and pit sequence, that appeared to play the difference here, as Morad may have been trying to save fuel late in the going, or perhaps just ran the tank dry. How in the world were you able to muscle your way up to what was a margin in excess of 15-plus seconds at one point to grab your second win of this, so far, short series?
Yeah, I mean, Daniel had great pace tonight, so I knew it was going to be a battle. He's quick guy, obviously, real life he's quick. So it's always fun to drive against him. When I came out of the pits and I saw the gap, I was like, man, I must have really messed up the pit stop. But I was like, there's no way, because I had, by my calculation, like I had just enough, like 3 extra minutes of fuel, maybe, depending on the pace. So I figured he was trying to play it slow and milk the gap that he built up. But yeah, I just tried to put down good laps, not make any big mistakes, and close it up as much as I could, and hope I could at least get to see him at the end of the race and put a fight with him. But it worked out.
Now, when you mention these calculations and planning that you had to put in place for the fuel strategy, are these numbers that you derived when the bulletin came out, that this would be something to turn your attention towards heading into this race? Or is this math and numerology that you're working based on your results in practice, qualifying, in the early stages of the race? When did that decision come into your mind to go about it the way that you did?
Yeah, so I usually try to run a practice that's full race length at least, and get an idea of where I'm at after the first half of fuel is gone. So I had an idea of what the fuel needed to be. The practice I'd run was, the temperature wasn't quite the same, so we were not quite on the pace I was in my practice session. So I have a crew chief that talks to me as well, so he gave me the fuel load that I needed, and I just stuck with exactly what he said and backed it off maybe a half gallon, just because I just usually a little conservative. So that worked out, and I had just enough. Like I crossed the line with 0.2 gallons in the tank. So
Now, you and Daniel Morad running underneath the pro class for this points paying portion of our series. And with that, I just want to open the door and talk a little bit more about your direct involvement with Operation Motorsport. For me, with this being my first broadcast for the organization, it means a lot. Now knowing the backstory and what's behind this effort that goes into place to putting this series on. I mean, obviously, you've had a spectacular start, batting 1,000 with 2 wins under your belt in 2 races. But to know the purpose behind the series in which you're competing in, does that add a little bit more of a boost to a night like this where you're able to come out on top?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what it's all about. Is really what these guys do for the veteran community. And the wins are great, and the racing is just fun. So I'm just happy to even be involved. Like this is very near and dear to me. I'm in a special operations career field, so I've lost friends, and I've had friends that have come back with with scars from downrange. So I know exactly, what it is they're helping out with and how important it is. And so I'm just happy to be involved and help these guys out and bring, some exposure to it or whatever to help them, continue to fund this program.
Well, Chris, we cannot thank you enough for being part of it and providing us with what was a second thrilling race to kick this series off. We hope to see you back at Road Atlanta in about a week's time, September 1st, our next scheduled event. And congratulations on starting the series off 2 for 2, my friend.
All right. Thank you. You guys have a great evening.
Thank you again. Again, that is Chris Walsh, who, despite what the box score may say with him having that lead and win as high as it was, I promise you that was an absolute thriller coming all the way down to the line. However, JP, Chris Walsh was not the only name that caught our eye. As a matter of fact, there were a number of top finishers up towards the front of the field, including Christopher Bailey, who, according to my notes, did not make the start over at VIR. It was the first time that we saw him. And JP, this provides us an opportunity to catch up with our second place finisher.
Yeah, exactly. Welcome, Chris. Can I get a copy?
A copy?
Yep, loud and clear. So we saw you on a long battle throughout the first stint with Hunter Reeve. We saw incredible battle. What was for the effective third position at the time. And after the pit stop, obviously Reeve pulled out a bit of a gap and a different strategy. Talk us through that first battle until the pit stop.
So the first battle up until the pit stop was just trying to save as much fuel as possible, which is a little bit difficult being the lead car in the draft, and also just trying to save tires so that it had some tires at the end of the race after the pit stop.
And we saw Reeve pulling up a massive gap throughout the pit stops, and we weren't sure if you were fuel saving. We saw that Reeve was, and when he first came out ahead of you, with that big gap, did you know at that time that he was not anyway gonna make it to the flag, and you knew you had the position at least from him, so you can guarantee that third place position?
I kind of thought that he was going to run out of fuel only because I had taken a very aggressive approach to fuel strategy, and I knew that even I was going to be close. So the fact that he pulled out that much of a gap on the fuel stop really did catch my attention.
So finally, in relation to the race, obviously on the final few laps, we not only saw Reeve, but we also saw Morad running out of fuel in what was a miscalculation from both parties. So what was your reaction when Reeve and Morad ran out of fuel, especially Morad on the final lap in the final few corners?
I've seen Daniel run out of fuel a few times before, so it wasn't really a surprise to me.
Yeah, and that was an incredible act of sportsmanship, trying to push him to the line. So I take my hat off to you in that relation. And it was a really clean battle. Since we didn't have you here last week on the interview, I just want to ask you, what is your participation on the eMotorsport program? How do you fit in? How you see the future of this league and this program?
So I was introduced to Operation Motorsport through my volunteering with Allegra Motorsports in the IMSA and SRO series. Through that, I met some beneficiaries who were placed with the team, and through that, got to talk to them, got to make some really good friends and some good contacts, and have since stayed in touch with all of them. And that's my involvement with Operation Motorsports.
Well, thank you for your time today. Incredible race from you. Congratulations on the second place, and I hope to see you next week here. And actually, what's going to be, I'm pretty sure, an incredible race at Road Atlanta. Thank you for your time.
And again, that was Christopher Bailey, who in his first start of the series, coming home with a strong second place finish after what was, as he mentioned, a very calculated event. Second time we've heard somebody talk about how important it was to crunch the numbers correctly. And with that, we'll take a time now to talk to what was one of our higher finishers, rounded out our podium in the open class assignment, and that is that of Joe Keens. And with Joe's story, it seemed as though that he was kind of locked together in what was a heavy race for that fourth spot that seemed to go on just about all race long. So we'll get an opportunity to get Joe Keens in here and hear about his race unfolded. And Joe, I'll tell you what, a strong third place run, a podium for you, first time this season after finishing 8th back at VIR. But we got to talk about that battle you had with Adam Poppenhaus. I mean, I don't know if you guys knew at the time that it was going to be for a podium spot, but you guys showed each other a lot of respect in racing room, and it turned out to give you a podium shot when it came down to the checkered flag. What does this third place finish mean to you?
It was great, man. I gotta take my hat off to Adam because he drove so consistently and so cleanly, and that was just such an amazing battle, you know, and the fact that we really didn't have any contact as hard as we were racing. Yeah, that was just amazing. And I was kind of watching the relative, you know, making sure, because we had Dustin kind of coming up on us. I'm not sure what happened to him. He was ahead and he had to pit maybe again. And you know, he every lap that gap to us was dropping as we were battling. So I was like, well, we got to stay in front of him, but I can't lose any time to Adam either.
Now, a lot of people were keeping their eye on the fuel number, especially as the laps continue to click off. Was there any point in your race towards the waning laps that you were starting to sweat the fuel gauge a little bit, or you kind of nailed your calculations right off the jump?
So I usually take more fuel than I need because I don't want to be in that position at the end of the race. And so, you know, if I take, you know, 2 or 3 liters more than I need, then I'd rather have that cushion than having to be like really managing it for the last 2 laps there. And what's weird about the Mazdas is, you know, you can't take a specific amount of fuel. There's kind of big jumps and how much you can take. So I either had to take like exactly what it said I needed or a little bit more, and I just opted for a little bit more. And that allowed me to just, you know, drive as hard as I could through the end of the race.
Now, one of the questions we were able to ask Chris Walsh went on a win, and we mentioned many times throughout the broadcast that even though this race is being run as an overall, that the points are essentially being awarded through classes, and with you being one of the highest finishing open drivers, Walsh on the pro side. In a few moments, we're going to be able to talk to Adam Poppenhaus, who was the highest finisher of the beneficiaries. You mentioned racing with Adam. That's the premise of this whole organization and this series. Had a chance to ask Chris Walsh this question, want to pose it to you as well. Being involved in a series that means as much as Operation Motorsport and this sim league, does it carry a little bit more pride when you have a chance to get up there and mix it up with some of the people who not only make this organization happen, but also are responsible for a lot of the daily freedoms that we all get to enjoy?
Absolutely. It's such an honor to be a part of this. I'm so glad that Jason and Diesel and Tiffany have been so welcoming to me and, you know, all the other open guys and the pro guys as well. And to be out on track with these guys that are, you know, and they're heroes. That's just the bottom line. And, you know, be able to get out there and mix it up with them. I mean, it's so awesome.
Well, we cannot thank you enough for taking part in this league and series. We hope to see you back at Road Atlanta, where hopefully the strong results will continue. Congratulations on a strong third place finish.
Hey, thanks guys, and thanks for doing what you do. You guys are great on the broadcast.
Thanks a lot, Joe. We really appreciate that. Again, that's Joe Keens, and that takes us through our podium finishers. But we do want to take a moment to talk to our fourth place finisher, who, as we mentioned, according to my documentation, the highest of the beneficiaries that ever entered in this series to come home, and he just missed out on a podium. Adam Poppenhaus, want to ask how you're feeling so far after what's been a strong start to your season?
You know, I got to tell you, I think my heart is still pounding. That was quite a battle with Joe. It was some very, very good, intense, clean racing. But you know, this is my first endeavor into the iRacing and eMotorsports endeavor with our Resilience Racing team. So it's been so far it's been a blast. I've been pleased with the results and the representation that I've been able to provide to our organization. And you know, I can't thank you guys enough at Operation Motorsports for putting all this on.
We say first endeavor. I look at the results here. P5 at VIR, P4 here, obviously trending upwards. How did this all come about for you? I mean, obviously the organization is behind this full speed ahead, and I think it is an absolutely incredible and great cause that they have put on. And I think the pathway in which we're taking, especially at the time that we're in, is perfect. But for you to get to a point where you have the system ready, you get yourself acclimated with the car and the platform, how did this all kind of transpire for you to not only jump into the sim racing cockpit, but also to run as well as you are? I mean, these results are very impressive.
Well, thank you for that. But so my I was introduced to Operation Motorsport through Resilience Racing, which is an organization that is partnered with Texas A&M's engineering department, and we are trying to design a specific set of racing hand controls for amputees. I myself am a double amputee and currently driving with one prosthetic on my left foot. So, if as you can imagine, there are some unexpected moments throughout a race when you can't exactly feel the pedals. So that was my introduction to the iRacing and getting to know some of the tracks around the country more intimately. I think this has been an absolute great way to really hone some skills and get ready to really test hard some hand control components.
Now, we've asked this question to Chris Walsh, also just posed it momentarily ago to the driver who you were pretty much tied to throughout the race, Joe Keens, one of the open competitors. But as one of the racers carrying the beneficiary flag as far as your class assignment for this series, and knowing what it means not only to you, your fellow beneficiary racers, but everyone who makes this organization possible, the success that is coming with your initial foray into this form of simulated racing, how much does it mean to you? You've already highlighted some of the adaptations that you've had to go through in order to become acclimated to where you could compete, period, let alone being first in class. What does that mean for you?
It's incredibly pleasing. I won't be able to find enough words to really express how I'm feeling, but my heart is still pounding to be able to run this well for such an important organization. And just the representation that I feel I'm representing them well, if you will. And so I'm just very, very pleased with our results so far, and I definitely want to stay humble and keep grinding and strive to be better. But I think battling for a podium position, passing them at the stripe in my second race in Operation Motorsports E Series is very pleasing. I'm definitely going to celebrate a little bit tonight.
Well, Adam, I think saying well is a bit of an understatement. You are performing so much better than that, my friend, and I'm excited to see how the rest of your season shapes out. Congratulations. Fourth place finish, first in class, and I can't wait to see what you have in store for us as this series continues to click off. Thank you so much for all that you've done, not only just in this series, but even prior, and we really appreciate having you and people like you take part in this, my friend.
I really appreciate that. You guys are doing a great job broadcasting as well. The streams are great. So cheers, mates. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Adam Poppenhouse, our fourth place finisher, first overall. Again, unofficially, according to my notes, which are not always the best. At least I'm not doing math and calculating fuel numbers like a lot of our competitors did. And gentlemen, before we sign off, I do see that Jason Leach has jumped back in the fray, and I want to get an opportunity to catch up with him before we bid everybody adieu. And Jason, if you're near the headset, just want to take an opportunity and first off, thank you, because this is probably the most fun that I've ever had announcing in my entire career because of what this all means. Seeing the race unfold the way that it has, VIR was a blast as well. But watching all these different people from all these different sectors, not only of motorsports, but of life, come together for this cause and have the result be this entertaining and this fulfilling, is that really what Operation Motorsport is all about?
Oh, thanks, Eric. Yeah, so I cannot believe. I mean, VIR was great. Don't get me wrong. That was a beautiful track. Our first opening event last week, but boy, the competition here tonight was ruthless. I looked at watching the practice, looking at the times. I mean, I cannot believe how close everybody was. And I don't know what it was like to watch on YouTube, but I can tell you from what I saw behind the steering wheel, it was a great race, and it really came down to fuel strategy tonight. It sounds like. I mean, myself, I ran out of fuel coming out of the final turn, coming up the hill, and coasted across the finish line. So and listen to the driver's radio and everybody else. It's just a tremendous event, and it's all about the drivers, and it's the guys who came together here tonight to make this happen. Because we can't do this without them. I mean, I could go practice on iRacing all I want, but it's guys like Chris Walsh and the times he's putting down. It's Dustin, it's Hunter, it's Timothy Bernard. Those guys are really what matters here in putting this together.
And we had a chance to talk to a number of our front-running finishers, and even again from my perspective, knowing what the backbone of this series is all about, it truly fulfills me with a sense of pride to just be a part of it. And that seems to be the sentiment across all competitors, regardless of whatever class they're racing in. Just knowing the purpose for us all to be able to get together on this evening, at a time in which the world is going through a lot of different changes and transitions, and we have a pathway and an avenue for us all to have a little bit of fun and disconnect from whatever's going on outside of what looks to be, the cockpit of our virtual race car. For you, seeing it come to this level of fruition, I know you're happy with the level of competition. I know the change that was made, from a race director standpoint to offer the opportunity to start them on a short fuel fill, that obviously produced some of the excitement that we've seen here. But for the organization as a whole, I mean, is this something in which you guys are really going to lean into a lot more down the road? I know the iRacing and the sim racing venture for you guys is relatively new and you're knocking it out of the park. Do you see this as being a viable option and sustainable as far as serving a purpose within the organization?
Oh, absolutely. When we look at it, I mean, right now we've got people from California, on the West Coast that are participating with us. We've got people here on the East Coast where I'm at participating with us, down in the South, up in Canada. I mean, to get everybody together virtually in a virtual motorsports world is great, especially as we get back into the real paddocks. We're going to be out at Road America this weekend with SRO and a couple of beneficiaries. Chad and Will are going to be working with Boehm Racing. So the real side's starting to open back up a little bit for us, but the virtual side is what's going to sustain us through those off weeks when there is no racing or in the off season. As we expand as an organization and we start to partner with more USOs across the country, this is how we're going to be able to keep people engaged because we're funded right now by private donations. So we don't have the big pockets to fly somebody from California out to VIR or down to Road Atlanta or out to Daytona, on a regular basis. So the iRacing piece is gonna help us sustain. And additionally, our Operation Motorsport Academy is going to be coming online over the foreseeable future. And much like the professional drivers, our goal is to put together drivers that can race in the Champ Car Series or be the drivers of the car that we race at the Race of Remembrance at Anglesey Circuit in Wales. And we're going to use iRacing to help identify who are those right people, because there is some translation from the virtual world to the real world. We're already seeing that with some of the competition here today. I was impressed, to hear a couple of these guys have very little time on the sim side, but because of their real world experience, they're able to jump right into here and be competitive at the top of the heap.
Well, we've got about 7 days for us to all catch our breath and prepare to move forward after what has been a very entertaining hour plus of simulated racing action for such a good cause. Road Atlanta's third race on the calendar coming up next. Any opportunity maybe at maybe tweaking some additional rules? Are you guys happy with what you're seeing so far? And anything else that we could look forward to as this series continues to roll through our 8 scheduled events?
I don't, not at this time. I mean, so what I will do over the next couple of days is go back and review all the tape and review everything how it went. I'll take a look at the whatever incidents may have occurred, just to make sure the racing is clean. So and if there's anything we got to address, we'll address it. But right now, I'm very happy with the level of competition, the level of mutual respect amongst everybody that's competing. And I kind of subscribe to the no news is good news. I mean, needs to come and talk to me as a race director if they had an on-track incident that they want to talk about. To date, nobody's approached me of anything of any real seriousness. So I'm happy.
And again, that is Jason Leach, not only the race director, but also a huge part in this Operation eMotorsport League presented by RECARO. For more information, again, just visit operationmotorsport.org/eMotorsport to learn more. And Jason, thank you so much, man, for doing all this, for allowing us to be partners through this process and enjoying this series. And I can't wait for what we have in store for us next week.
I can't wait. I can't wait as well, Eric. And thank you to Pit Stop TV for coming on board with us this season. You guys are, again, knocking it out of the park every week. Can't wait to see what Road Atlanta looks like from your broadcast perspective.
Thanks a lot. Again, that is Jason Leach, who told us a little bit of his story that happened on track, but also providing a lot of well-rounded context to all that has gone into making this series possible, some long-term goals. And again, I cannot direct you enough to operationmotorsport.org to learn more. With that, JP, let's take an opportunity here to take a look at our final results from this event. And as we mentioned, Jason Leach and his team will be going over through some of the video footage. So we'll mention these are unofficial results, with Chris Walsh getting the victory. Again, second time in 2 races for Walsh after he was able to nail down the fuel number perfectly. And Christopher Bailey in his first start comes home in second. And Joe Keentz, our podium finisher, there in third. Adam Poppenhaus, who was one of the beneficiaries, top running beneficiary when they came down to the checkered flag. I got to hear a little bit of Adam's story, which represents so many that are taking part in the series. And Dustin Burkhalter, who was running up in the top 3 throughout most of this race until a prolonged pit stop. It looked as though, from what it sounded like from Joe Keentz and Adam Poppenhaus's perspective, may have been in contention for a podium spot. Has to settle for a 5th place finish, but is a top 5 nonetheless. Hunter Reeve, who had to pit late for fuel, comes home in 6th. Callum Belden was 7th. Timothy Bernard 8th. Jay Gleason in 9th. And Jason Leach, who we just heard from a short while ago, able to salvage a top 10 despite running out of fuel late in the going.
Brian Winker starts off P11. Jacob M. Williams finishes P12. Glenn Gray finishes P13. And probably the biggest surprise is seeing Daniel Morad finishing 14th after getting pole, leading a major part of this race. And unfortunately, running out of fuel in the final lap cost him what is essentially any points, any major points to his championship. In 15th place, we have Jonathan Winker. Mark Bray, finishes P16. 17th place, we have Brian Burkhardt. And 18th, we have Theo Brosema, which unfortunately had that lap 1 shunt that put him out of the race early on. Richard Halslet, finishes P19, and Keenan Gallagher, who unfortunately did not start the race, finishes P20.
And we want to remind everybody that all of our coverage here that is made available on Pit Stop TV with our new parent organization at Whiplash Media, and they specialize in various sim racing resources. That also includes paint schemes, stream overlays, iRacing camera packs, and so much more. But they're not only truly just immersed in the sim racing world, they're actually working on a presence in real racing, such as photography opportunities, social media management, as well as public relations. And Whiplash Media can currently be found on Facebook. And again, that is Whiplash Media, Pit Stop TV's parent organization. We also want to take one more opportunity to thank a couple more presenting sponsors who helped make this all possible, including that of Permanent Makeup in Maine. And a reminder that when it comes to your appearance, and this is something which I did not know too much about, so I turned to the wife for a little bit more clarification. Apparently, it sounds like a pretty good deal, and she's going to have an opportunity to win something for free here in just a short bit. But make sure that you deserve the best care that money could absolutely buy at Permanent Makeup and Creo in Maine. The owner, and Ashley Bullier, a certified micropigmentation specialist who provides professional, safe, and personalized services. That's the key word there, personalized. If you're looking for the best solutions for your PMU concerns, give them a call today and you can book yourselves a consultation. You can also contact them on the web at permanentmakeupinmaine.com. Their contact to call or text option available on the website as well, or check them out on Facebook. And that's where my wife Haley is going to try to have an opportunity to win one of their monthly giveaways. So submit your entry on that Facebook page, and who knows, you might just be able to win an opportunity to make sure that you are looking as best as possible. And that is Permanent Makeup in Maine. Again, permanentmakeupinmaine.com. We also have our friends at Tucson Sound Art, and that is where you can take your picture and blend it with your music. If you provide any image that you want, could be of friends, family, a pet, your race car, you name it, and they will create and customize a beautiful framed and high quality canvas with a built-in Bluetooth speaker. And with Sound Art, you get the best of both worlds. To learn more, visit TucsonSoundArt.com for more information. And thank you to them as well for helping us out. We also have our friends, of course, that we've talked all throughout the night at Operation Motorsport, the veteran-led not-for-profit foundation, which is the sole reason for this production and broadcast, based not only in Raleigh, North Carolina, but also in Brighton, Ontario, Canada, founded on the basis of 3 simple words: excite, engage, and empower. And it's their mission to engage through motorsport activities, especially here on the sim world, with all ill and injured service members and disabled veterans, also those affected by military service, and leading in their aid to recovery and rehabilitation. Again, for more information, I encourage you all to visit operationmotorsport.org. And lastly, our presenting sponsor on the night, RECARO. And whether it is on the track or even in iRacing, RECARO Automotive is all about making driving safer, more comfortable, and more controlled. It is a driving experience that you can really feel. An ergonomic sitting position means a comfortable position. So with the perfect seat contours and innovative features that support your body, RECARO Automotive makes driving fun, whether it's on the road or at the racetrack. And RECARO Automotive is a proud supporter of Operation Motorsport's iRacing. For more information, visit recaro-automotive.com. Well, JP, we got the business taken care of. We got 7 days to catch our breath, and then we're back in action at Road Atlanta. I don't know about you, but I can't wait to get this going again.
Road Atlanta, it's definitely going to be a banger. It has a few less overtaking opportunities, but it's such a good track. It's one of my favorites on the service, so I can't wait.
Well, with that, I just want to take this opportunity to thank everybody for allowing me to take part in this. It goes all the way up from our friends at Operation Motorsport and Jason Leach, all the way to Andrew Cardinale IV, who could not be here tonight. He's usually the one piloting the ship, and it is because of him that I've had the most prepared production notebook ever possible, and I want to thank him and credit him for everything, especially this opportunity. But he didn't do it alone. We also have, from the production end, Emerson Arden. Our social, the gentleman holding it down for us on social was Trey Shuttlesworth. And of course, you've been listening to JP Costa with me on the call all throughout the night, and we had a blast. There's a lot more to look forward to as we close out our coverage here tonight from the Operation eMotorsports iRacing League. And again, we cannot thank you all enough for joining in, but we got a lot more on the calendar, including this week, as early as tomorrow evening. We will be bringing you the Bluegrass iRacing Series at Charlotte Motor Speedway. That is the 4th race of 12 on their schedule. For more information, all you got to do is follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/pitstoptv, or on Twitter at pitstoptv_, on Twitch at twitch.tv/pitstoptv, and also on YouTube by simply searching Pitstop TV. For all of us at Pitstop TV, I'm Eric Brennan, and we will see you all next time with more coverage, not only tomorrow, but also next week for Operation eMotorsport from Road Atlanta, and it's all coming to you here on the channel. Good night, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Sound art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it sound art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas, and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
How you